Darkness, my old friend, I will talk with you again. Because visions of the creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walk alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp, I turn my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stared by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence, and in the naked light I saw 10,000 people prayed before, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share. No one dared disturb the sound of silence. Who said I hear unknown? Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I teach you. Take my arms that I might reach out to you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echo in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed its warning in the words that it was forming, and the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, and turners pause and whisper in the sound of silence. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, Also on the faces of people going by, I see friends shaking hands, saying how they do. They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They're like much more, and I never know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Hey guys, how is everybody doing? You guys want to get started? Today we plan on going through the interview of Christopher Watt's father-in-law. So I'm going to post the link. Copy, paste, enter. Yes, that was the theme music to the movie Good Morning Vietnam. Okie dokie. Now let's see here. Click on here and let's get started. There was a little bit. Oh, I'll back it up just a little bit.
So, what can you tell me about Shanann and Chris and their relationship?
He was a great father.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't ask for a better father for him, for the kids.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there so we can talk about this a little bit. This interview with law enforcement was after the bodies were recovered, right? Hey, Star Mama.
Hey, you ready to get the show on the road?
Yeah, really. I just played like the first 5 seconds, and it's Christopher Watt's father-in-law saying that he couldn't ask for, a better son-in-law, right? Or a better father for his grandchildren.
Oh, yeah, I really liked that statement. That told a lot, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think so, and it was after the bodies were recovered, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, that's when he went in and did the interview, yeah, with the detective. Oh, yeah, that was after they'd already been, yeah. I mean,
because they were in Colorado, right? Her family wasn't in Colorado when they were missing, right?
right. Well, as far as we know.
As far as we know, yeah.
Yeah. How do you know anything for sure with this case? I mean,
that's a good point.
There's a lot of questionable things, Yep. Yeah.
So
I would have been, if it had been my daughter and grandchildren missing, I would have hitchhiked. That's what it took to get there. I know they said they didn't have money for planes and all that stuff. I wouldn't have cared. I found some way to get there. Believe me.
Well, and if I was being interviewed by law enforcement after finding out that bodies were recovered from the work site,
yeah,
it would probably be a cold day in hell before I would be saying what a great guy he was.
Exactly. Yeah. There's some questionable things, that's for sure. I mean,
so I wonder at that point if the narrative had yet to launch, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. That hadn't completely gone that way, had it? Yep. It doesn't make sense. You have to look at this stuff from a logical sense. And if it's not logical, then it can't be, right? I mean, it just can't.
But you're right. Using a little bit of logic and reason, it does not make sense that when the bodies are recovered from the job site that he would be the greatest husband and father ever.
Oh yeah, or if it was pointing to him being guilty of murdering them, I mean, that would be the furthest thought for your mind. I would think, And to me, they act awful calm too. they didn't just act like normal people that would have been upset and outraged. I don't know. It's like I said, this is the strangest case I've ever seen. It just is.
It is start to finish, and it continues to be strange 3.5 years later, right?
Yeah, and things just keep getting more stuff's coming out, and just like this stuff about the house and stuff. Yeah, there's some stuff that's really getting my eyes are just going wide open. I'm going, what is going on? You know?
Oh, did you see my post? You mean about the
Oh
whole?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to think that that is being promoted, it makes no sense. If it was possible that somebody could put a lien on a property, and whoever buys that property would have to satisfy whatever lien was put on it, then lenders would never lend again.
Exactly. They couldn't have. Well, and besides that, who would pay all that money anyway? You know,
Well,
what is it?
the
Yeah,
premise,
they were
the
insinuating $6 million. That's crazy to even think something like that. Anybody would even pay that. You know?
right, the basic premise is just so faulty, because
Oh
there's
yeah.
no way that a potential buyer to a house that's worth, they like to say now 700 and something. I think it's probably worth 350 if they're lucky. I
Well,
think,
it needs a lot of work done to it, and as cold as it gets there, and nobody's been treating those pipes, doing a lot of things to that home. They probably got all kinds of damage that I mean, they might even have damage to the concrete and stuff. I mean, and the flooring and stuff, because you just can't leave houses sit that long. It's been what, almost 4 years that house been sitting there with nobody in it. I mean, in these winter months and cold and nothing done to, as far as we know. I've never had, I mean, the way people keep an eye on that place and video things and stuff, you would think surely somebody with a, oh boy, they're out there, there's people in there taking care and fixing things up, or they're, treating the plumbing or winterizing home. But dude, they don't even mow the yard. So I'm sure they're not doing any maintenance on the inside of the house. They're just,
well, and who
they're
are
not
they?
taking care of the
Because
yard. Yeah.
we were told the house was foreclosed upon right away. We were
Yeah.
told that it got foreclosed on. And we
Yeah.
were told there was going to be an auction sale by the lender. And we
Right.
were told all sorts of things, weren't we? And
We were.
and
Mhm.
now we find out that Christopher Watts is supposedly the person making payments on the property taxes.
Yeah, and he's getting the notices about the yard not being mowed and stuff. That
Right.
just people realize how stupid that sounds. Here you got a man that's got all these life sentences, never supposedly going to see the light of day from that place, and they're sending him notices and letters about the yard and being
Well,
things.
the
I mean,
receipts, the property tax receipts are in his name.
I know they are. I know
And so if
the
that's
home's
the
still
case,
the home's in his name. Nothing's changed. You're right.
if that's the case, then they dang well better explain to all of us in the true crime community how it is that Christopher Watts must certainly be making every monthly payment too, because that house would not still be in his name if he wasn't making those payments. So, and why
And
were we
and
told
the maintenance fees. Some got those maintenance fees up because they were getting ready to go to court, and they could have took care of that right away.
So yeah, the HOA dues, the maintenance fees, the property taxes, insurance on the house, no doubt, that monthly payment. We're
Yeah,
supposed to
exactly,
believe, evidently, that Christopher Watts is making all those payments. Mr.
exactly.
Mr.
Me too.
filed a bankruptcy in 2015.
Mhm.
Mr. broke without any money at all, and he's supposedly sitting there in prison behind bars making all those payments.
So if the house is still in his name and nothing's been done to that, is there a possibility, by some stretch of whatever you want to put, imagination or whatever, is there a possibility that this may turn around and somebody might talk, or somebody knows something that could change the whole direction of this, and he may actually walk out of there?
Like, are you thinking that maybe somebody's expecting that to happen, so they're not? You
It's
mean
looking that way. It looks that way to me. I mean, why else would this house still be in his name and nothing being done? I mean, it's like they're waiting for something to be filed or something to come out that maybe he, or whatever his involvement was, or whatever he knew, and maybe wasn't went along with things, or his part of, maybe distorting this whole thing that went on. Maybe time served. Maybe he's put enough time in that he's going to walk out of there, because things are going to point to where he didn't do this after all.
And
No.
and even then, in the interim, who is making those payments? Because somebody is, and we were told that house was foreclosed on. So who got it out of foreclosure?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I told you, that one lady that wanted to do the virtual walkthrough, and she had to prove credit worthy because there are a lot of people that was wanting to just get in there and just nose around, by those virtual walkthroughs. They had to show that they were credit worthy before they could actually get in there. And this was about a year to a year and a half after, after this happened. But they were told it was took off the market and that home would never sell. So why was she told that? It's been took off the market and it wouldn't sell. I mean, apparently, is he going to keep it? I mean,
Yeah, if Christopher Watts owns it, and if he's planning on keeping it, then I think he's planning on getting out of prison at some point.
right. I mean, if not, he could have surely have turned it over to maybe signed it over to his mom and dad or something and told them to take care of it and start paying all this stuff. But see, that's the stuff that's not making sense. They would have jumped on that, got the
Well,
house, and whatever was not owed would have gone to the Rustics, is the way I understood it. But that hasn't happened. So something's not right.
well, in order for anything to go to them from the house, there would have to be equity in the house. And even though I know we're being told that it's worth so much money, I highly doubt it is, because I think if it was worth whatever amount of money, then I think that there would be ready, willing, and able buyers lining up to buy it. And remember, we're told that this house was for sale right off the bat, that it was going to be auctioned. And then wasn't it the night before the auction that they canceled the auction?
They canceled. They've had it up. There was two auctions actually, and
Yeah.
they didn't have supposedly any bids on it at all at the first one, and the second one it was took right off again, and nothing was done. But I understood they didn't even get an offer on it from the first one.
Well, the
Not
first one
even an
was
offer.
canceled the night before the auction.
Oh, maybe it was the first one. Maybe it's the second one, but I know there was one where they never even got any offers on it. I do know that. Nobody made an offer within the time frame or something to where they
Well,
could make offers. Yeah.
yeah, that would make me wonder what they're saying the minimum bid would have needed to be, because we're being told, oh, it's worth 600 and 700, whatever. If it's out there with a minimum bid of 700 or something, then they, I think would struggle to get any bids on it. But if
come on, people in that neighborhood, somebody's gonna be getting hold of the news media and everything. Oh, look at all the commotion going on at that Watts home. Y'all need to get out here. There's people in and out, and you would think that anybody that was even interested in brokers, that they would be going by and looking at the home and going inside and seeing exactly what might need to be done, how much money they're going to have to put into it, checking things, or maybe, how they go around and check the property. You don't see anything up on the property lines where they flag them, or anything. Lines drawn, those different flags and stuff, that go on the property line. I haven't ever seen that at that house like they do.
And it comes right back to the fact that the receipts are in Christopher Watt's name for the property taxes.
Exactly.
We've been lied to it at some point because we were told it was foreclosed on. Now we're being told that he's paying the property taxes. So which time were they lying to us, right?
They've been lying all along about everything as far as I'm concerned. It's just been one big fat lie and fabricated bullshit to
Oh,
try
that
to
reminds
be
me of
a
something.
narrative. Yeah.
And that's, I was going to say kind of unrelated, but it's the same narrative thing. Do you remember the last live chat where it was titled "The Forgotten Victims"? Poor little Bella and CC Watts.
Mm-hmm.
I posted that a few days before the live chat, and I noticed the timing on a few videos that were posted suddenly, all about Bella and CC Watts.
Oh yeah.
As soon as that was put up there that we were going to do a live chat about it, then all of a sudden videos were posted about little Bella and CC, and I thought, well, better late than never. And it's really sad that it took.
Yeah, some of these drama channels are now deciding that they're gonna do the long case and stuff. They're doing all this stuff on that long case and stuff. I mean, they never was in any kind of true crime, any of these cases before. Now, all at once, everybody's getting involved in this stuff. They're walking away from all their dabbling back and forth and being friends one day, enemies the next, and now they're ganging up together and they're going to discuss crime cases. I mean, it just blows my mind how people can just change that quick and not be interested at all and be giving us so much grief over
You
looking
can
into cases. Yeah,
you can
crazy.
spot the channels that are actually talking about true crime cases and the ones who aren't.
Right.
You can spot them.
And
Okay,
even Justin, he will touch on, he doesn't just touch on this case, he touches on several and brings out points about all kinds of different cases and
right.
highlights what he's noted. So, I mean, yeah, nobody else does this. I mean, it just blows my mind. It just does.
He asked for permission to use my content on the video photo op, and I think it was, I'm not sure, I think it was on the video photo op and the one that both kids are sick again, remember?
Oh yeah,
Where
yeah,
I read off the dates that she posted that both kids were sick again.
yeah.
And he asked for my permission to use that content, and I gave him permission to use it. So
Well, that's
I'm
good. 'Cause he's sure looking into the videos of the Christmas and the water thing, water sprinkler. He's tearing some stuff apart and really making people. To me, it would make me sit and go if I never hadn't heard anything, or where I'd go, oh really? And because this guy went into looking at it from somebody's point of view that had been abused, and he opens, to me, he opens the door a lot more than where I had even gone, you know. So yeah, I like
well, and
getting other people's perspectives for sure, because
it'll be interesting to hear Justin's perspective on those two videos.
yes, mm-hmm,
It'll be very interesting.
mm-hmm.
I'll
Yeah,
click on. Oops. Go ahead.
okay. Thank you, Christy, for the birthday wish. That's great. It's it's just another year. What can I say? When you get to be my age, it's just another day.
Well, you had a great birthday. I'm glad you did.
I
That's
did.
one.
I really had a good one. And actually, tomorrow, my daughter and son-in-law, we didn't get to do it over the weekend because my son, I had other company, but they're taking me out to my favorite place tomorrow at lunch to eat for my
Good.
birthday treat. So yeah, I feel like I'm the queen right now.
Yeah, make the birthday week. To heck with birthday.
Yeah,
Make it birthday.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and
Listen to
click
better.
on. Yeah, I hope I don't mess this up, because if I lose my place here, then I'll probably we'll start from the beginning. But hey, we'll learn something new every time if I
Yeah,
do.
I think we're gonna learn something anyway. Yeah.
Okay, I'll click on right where we left off with the how wonderful Christopher Watts was. Okay.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
He did everything for them. Play with them, bathe them. I couldn't ask for someone better. Husband wise, same way. Never seen any kind of problems with them. I was out here prior to the 6 weeks she was here. I don't know the exact date before they both went on the vacation with her Thrive company.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. He says they both went on vacation with her Thrive company.
Her Thrive company. Okay.
Yeah, her Thrive company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but that whole business trip narrative is just, it seems offensive to me. It just seems offensive.
Yeah.
And that narrative that she was some successful business person, that started right at the beginning.
Well, they've never proved anything to show she was. And looking at the financial situation they were in and not owning a car and just things in general, it sure doesn't look very favorable for somebody that was that successful.
Well, if she was so successful, why did they walk away from $70,000 in debt in 2015?
Yeah. And why are all their credit cards maxed out? Why were they behind on house payments? Why didn't they own a car of their own? I mean, why? Nobody even wants to go there. You know, they just don't.
And think about this too. The year that they filed the bankruptcy, their property value suddenly jumped something like 50 grand,
Mm-hmm.
which I have no clue if it was accurate or not. I highly doubt it. I think that before they filed the bankruptcy, I think they probably got an equity loan out on their house so that after the bankruptcy, when they wouldn't maybe have been able to get a credit card for a while, that they could have sucked some equity out of the house.
That's very possible. I've wondered about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this whole idea that they went on a vacation with her Thrive company, it was a multi-level marketing company that anyone can pay money to sign up for. That isn't a job. It isn't a career. it is one of how many, Paula? Was it like 12 or something?
12 or 13. And hey, he might as well go because he's paying for all the flights and everything anyway. I mean, she wouldn't have been going on economy flights and booking flights early in the morning or late at night to save money if the company was paying for it. That's just not how it works. They just don't work that way.
Not how it works at all.
No.
Not at all. Aquamom or Aquamoon, sorry. Aquamoon says successful people don't owe mortgage payments or have furniture repossessed.
Yeah.
And like you said, they don't lease a vehicle. And I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
They didn't
Well,
own
like
art.
she was so successful, that was part of her company, a company benefit. So even if somebody wanted to go and say, "Oh yeah, that's true," it was. Why was it in Christopher Watt's name? Why was it not in her name and the business and Thrive name? That's what I want to know. It wouldn't
And
be in his name. It would
it
not have been
wouldn't
in
be
his
his
name.
name, it would be in her name. If she earned that car through one of her many MLMs, that car would have been in her name.
Crazy. Yeah. Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I know it, but this narrative started right at the beginning, I think, with everyone who was interviewed, saying how she was so successful with all of her MLMs and making it sound like she was actually working. That weekend in Arizona was a sales training seminar.
Mm-hmm.
So if she was so successful, why was she attending a sales training seminar? Wouldn't she have been the speaker?
Yeah, she should have been one of the leaders that were actually teaching the class instead of attending it to be trained. She should have been one of them that were trained. That's the way yeah.
If you're 35th from the top, then surely you're the one leading the training, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
And from
I
the
would.
sounds, she didn't even attend the training from the way it sounds. It sounds like she just stayed in the hotel room.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it sounds. Like she was too sick to do anything. And if you're that sick and feeling that bad, why even bother to go? Why not stay home?
New Orleans lady, well, I don't think she was supposed to be at the house. I think
No,
she
I
was
don't
supposed
either,
to
but
stay in North
I don't
Carolina.
think she was supposed to be. I don't think she was supposed to be in Arizona either. I don't think she was ever supposed to leave Carolina, but that's what I think.
And think about this too. Her father in the interview just said that he wasn't aware of any problems.
Yes, that he sure did. And he's the one, he said it out of his own mouth, that he's the one that bathed them, fed them, took care of them, did this, did this, did this. I didn't hear him say anything about his daughter doing anything. Did you? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, if Christopher Watts is the one bathing the children, feeding them, taking care of them, and he was such a wonderful father and such a wonderful husband, well, I mean, there it is.
And people need to think about one thing too. We talk about people say, "Oh, I just don't know how she could have done something like that. How she could have done something like that to her kids and then took her on." Well, you got to stop and think. If you are a mother and you've had children and you never had that bond, that mother bond with that child, it wouldn't be that big of a deal actually to snuff their life out, would it? I mean, if there was nothing there, no attachment, there just
Well,
wouldn't be
not
any.
only
It
a
wouldn't
lack,
bother you in the sense that it would bother someone that did bond with your child. I would
right,
think.
not only a lack of a bond or that detachment. That's a good word for it. I think is detachment. I think that's what many of us
Attachment.
see
Yeah.
in those videos. But I think it's even worse than that. I think if
Yeah.
you're dosing up your kids with drugs and if you're dragging them to specialists and if you're trying to convince the specialists that they have rare diseases and you're mocking them on video and you're pushing them to tears and you're, well, etc.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, if you're medically abusing your children, that's abuse. That's a severe form of child abuse.
Right. It just
If,
sounds like to me she couldn't be around him at all, or they wouldn't have get home at 4:30 and then been put to bed at 6:30 and drugged up and stayed there for 12 hours. That tells me it's somebody that did not want to did not want to have to mess with kids at all. She didn't want to have to hear them, see them, deal with it. That's just
I
what
don't think they were connected. And I think that's exactly why Bella and Cece were screaming before Santa Claus. I don't think they were screaming about Santa Claus. I think they were screaming because they needed their dad.
Right.
I think they were scared. And I don't think they were scared of Santa. Here we have a comment. The company sent her $800 a month to pay on the car, is the way I understood it. Okay, here's the part, though, where we're going to try some logic and reason. Because if the company was sending her $800 a month on the car to pay for the car, then that would mean that she earned that car, based on her huge success, right? That would mean if there's a check in her name for the car, that would mean that the car would be in her name.
Exactly.
It's right. I mean,
They
that's
wouldn't
just.
have any reason to send her a check to take care of the car if that wasn't in her name, would they? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if she earned that right, then obviously the car would need to be in her name before they would say, "Yeah, here's your $800 to make that payment."
Right.
They're
But
not
how
going
would
to
they
send somebody.
justify paying her that? At the end of the year, how would that be? I
Right.
don't know. With
And we're
books and
just trying to
stuff.
do
Yeah,
some logic here. That's all. It's simple, basic
that's all.
logic.
Yeah,
They're
just
not going
logic.
to send her a check for $800 a month if she has not leased that vehicle and needs that payment because she earned it, right? They're not
Right.
going to send $800 800 checks for $800 out to somebody who has not taken part in the lease program. She did not take part in the lease program. Her husband did.
Right.
So if
Well,
that,
and you remember that interview out by the pool where it showed NA had supposedly made her quote, and she was going to be able to pick out a car. Well, in that, if you listen to the way they were talking, it was like you could pick out from these different cars, and they were all pretty expensive. But it could go from an allotment from $4, $5, $6, $7, $800, depending on what your sales capped up as to what you would get. It's the way that they were explaining it on that. So there again, it doesn't necessarily even mean that even if she would have got something, it doesn't mean it would have been $800. She would have been at the top on that. So there again, that income of hers should have been way up there. I mean, she should have been making a lot of money if she's getting that
and
stuff.
and if it's an $800 a month check, I wonder how much it required her to spend on products in order to reach that, no pun intended,
That's
level.
what I'm saying.
But
Exactly.
backing it up to the basic logic here, if she was getting a check of $800 per month to pay on her leased vehicle that she earned the right to lease, then the leased vehicle would have been in her name.
Exactly.
And so this is one of those times where I'm just going to do my standard statement here. Bullshit. Okay? This is one of
Yeah.
those times where it's like, if it's the truth, why is it so confusing? Well, when it's this confusing, I highly doubt it's the truth.
Right. And
And
a company like that's not going to jeopardize any problems with the IRS and their books and stuff at the end of the year for something like that over a leased car. They're just not going to do that. That
well,
doesn't make
I just want to tell everybody in chat, here's a public service announcement for everybody who wants to have a car that you can't afford. You have the right, no matter how many products you've purchased in the last month or 3 months or 2 years or how many times you filed bankruptcy or whatever, you have the right to go down to the car dealership and try to get your name on a car too.
exactly. Yeah.
Beverly says that she retired from Mary Kay and that she earned her pink car. Well, I say good for you, Beverly. Good for you. And I won't go into asking questions because we want to get through this interview, but maybe another time, Beverly, you could come up on panel and talk with us about how much money you spent every month. Or I'm sorry, about how much money you earned every month. And I don't mean to get personal about, specifically your earnings, but just kind of give us a good breakdown on how
much you had to invest and what quotes you had to make and stuff every month or whatever
exactly,
to be able to
on
keep
how
car.
free, on just how free that pink car was. So, Andrea says a statement that many of us have said, but I'm going to skip right by that one. Let's see here. Okay, I'm not going to go on the Mary Kay tangent right now. There we go, Cuddle. Fake car for a fake person. I mean, it's not that hard to lease a vehicle, you guys. It really isn't. Christopher Watts had an income. Christopher Watts didn't have any car payments. So it probably wasn't that difficult for him to go in and lease a vehicle that they really couldn't afford.
Well, yeah, you can lease cars to go on vacations if you don't want to take your own, or if say you're, or something's happened, your car's going to be in the shop for a while, you want to leave. There's a lot of reasons that you could want to leave. When are you going on a trip and you don't want to put the mileage on your own personal vehicle? Yeah, it's not that hard. You just have to have a credit card and so much of a deposit and stuff. I mean, it's not that difficult. I mean, yeah, it's just not. I've leased them before too for 3-4 months when I bought a truck and they were trying to get everything done on it. It took a while. I mean, yeah, they did give me some back on it, but I leased that car in my name and got it. They didn't. The company didn't do it. So I mean,
And it's also, if any of you are thinking that you need to have a car that you really probably can't afford, it's not that hard to buy a new car too. I mean, if you're into putting yourself into whatever position financially, do it. But please don't try to convince me that it's because you were so successful with signing up for an MLM. I mean, I just don't buy it.
Lexus and the cars that they were talking about, even going to the Tesla and stuff, and those are very expensive cars. Very expensive. Yeah.
And they didn't even have the house payment,
Yeah.
Yeah. They were due in court because
yeah.
The HOA dues were only $1,500 total, and that would have been like 30 months. At the time of the tragedy, those HOA dues were only $52 a month. They couldn't pay that, but they could go look for a Tesla.
Yeah, but supposedly she sent checks to the wrong place, but she never got those checks back, and all that time, nobody, it was never brought to her attention. Yeah, that's bull too.
That's bullshit. And if she honestly couldn't send a $52 payment to the right address, then she shouldn't have been trusted to try to send the lease payment in.
That's true.
Ooh, Summer Breeze. That's an interesting statement. We can use just initials here, though, Summer Breeze, if you would. And that's coming up shortly in the interview. Oh, no, that was at the very beginning. Paula. Or I'm sorry. Sorry, Mama. Yeah, at the very beginning, I cut off the first part. I skipped ahead because it gave like the date of birth and everything, and I thought there's no reason to put all that out there. But did you know that the date of birth, the year of birth, was the same as when the other one said she was 8 years old?
I figured that was going to come out. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing how they trip on their own lies and their own stuff. Yeah.
Well, is there some confusion there? Because aren't we told that there's just a very small age gap, like a year? I think 1 year.
But that's not turning out to be that way, though. No.
Yeah, but it's looking like there's an 8-year age gap, and possibly more, because didn't she say in the early 60s she was 8?
I think it's more like 10 years, maybe 11.
So all the people who are up in arms because there are many of us saying that we think Christopher Watt's wife was much older than she claimed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think she was, and I think that that's part of this whole storyline from the start, with all this confusion about ages. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. When I saw that, I thought, what? That's when she said she was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So she's 8 years older or more? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Again, here's the big question for the entire case. Why is it so confusing? How difficult is it to just say what is,
Why is it so hard just to be truthful? I mean, in this day and age, most people would appreciate it just having the truth, and probably a lot of this stuff wouldn't be going where it was if the truth had been told and hadn't been all this other stuff fabricated and made up. I mean, that didn't make sense. Yeah.
And the sad part, too, with all the fabrications is that it tells me that in her lifetime, she wasn't really accepted for whoever she was.
Right.
That she had to be somebody other than who she really was. If after her death, there are so many lies being told about her.
Exactly. Yeah.
So can I click on it again? Let's see, which one is it? Right here.
There was a little bit of difference in him, but I just took it as being a father. I mean, he was getting a little stern with the girls. I mean, there's nothing You know, he was always the quiet type with them. But he started getting a little sterner with them, and I just took it as being a father. Now he's getting a little bit tired of what they're doing, running all over, so he's just getting stern with them. Never hit him that I know of. So, it's hard. There's different things that's going on. I mean, he did change his, they were going through this new Thrive stuff, or she was selling, and he started getting himself all built up and lost a lot of weight. But he was always a body type person, always took care of his body and all that. So
Okay, I want to stop it right there. He was always a body type person, always taking good care of his body. And I just want to point out for all the people telling the lies that he was so terrible, fat, out of shape, blah, blah, blah. According to Cindy Watts, he was actually fit and going to the gym daily when he met her daughter-in-law. According to Cindy Watts, it was her daughter-in-law who struggled constantly with her weight.
Yes.
Way up
and
way
if you
down.
look at some of the pictures, she was a lot heavier at times. And so was he. He kind of got heavy there too when they were right at the beginning and stuff. They were both kind of heavy there for a while. Yeah.
Well, she told him that he wasn't allowed to go to the gym because she didn't want him to run into any ex-girlfriend.
Oh, I know. And that she, I don't know, crazy. Yeah.
But his father-in-law just said that he's always, paid attention to that, always been fit and everything. So that's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Yeah.
Compared to the lies that are being told promoting the fallacies, all the time that he was some kind of, lump on a log and she was fit and trim.
Right.
And the way he said that, to back it up to the other part too, when he said that he wasn't aware of any problems, didn't he wonder why he was accompanying his daughter and his grandchildren to go to North Carolina for 6 weeks straight? Didn't he wonder about that?
Well, then they kind of put that off is because she couldn't handle Cece on a plane or something. I don't know. Something stupid.
Well, didn't he wonder why his daughter and grandchildren would be visiting for an extended stay like that?
Yeah, and if your marriage is in trouble and your family, why would you leave for 6 weeks? Why wouldn't it be better to stay at home, marriage, and work together as a family with your children, get counseling?
Well, he's saying that he didn't know there was any trouble at all, but remember, didn't his wife say that she asked their daughter to stay in North Carolina and to not return to Colorado?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm thinking that probably, well, my opinion. I think that marriage was already over, and I think that separation was it. I think the marriage was over. So I think it's interesting that in so many of these police interviews, people are saying, oh, gee, yeah, we thought everything was fine.
Yeah.
And two, I think it was like the end of June when he flew with his daughter and grandchildren to North Carolina. It was just a week or so later that she was telling the hairstylist she was getting divorced and looking forward to being single again.
Right. Yeah.
So
here you go back to logic again and what makes sense and what doesn't. I mean, it just does. Yeah.
Right. Basic logic.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep reminding people to use basic logic and reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did come out. Janet came out for 6 weeks with the girls. They were going back and forth from our house to his house, his mother's house. And the little Celeste had allergies to nuts, tree nuts. Very allergic to them. Very allergic.
Okay, hold up.
Oh, tree nuts. Okay.
I didn't realize that because I thought that it was one set of grandparents thought it was tree nuts and the other set of grandparents thought it was peanuts.
Right. Yeah, you got to catch little details that just makes it go entirely a different direction. And it goes back to bullshit is what it goes back to. Exactly.
This is really interesting that Christopher Watt's father-in-law said tree nuts, but his mother-in-law said peanuts.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I think another point that's interesting is that he's saying that they went back and forth to the in-laws.
Yes. I thought that was only there for a little bit and that all fell apart. She spent the rest of the time at their house.
Twice.
I didn't hear him going, yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, that didn't, I don't know. Now we're getting something different again.
Twice. So this back and forth thing is like, wait a minute, what? Twice.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, he would
But
just said twice instead of back and forth the whole time, right? If it was just twice. See, yeah, it's not, again, it's they're fabricating stuff. And if you're fabricating, then you're not telling the truth. And if you're not telling the truth, there's a reason why. And it's bullshit again. I mean, it just is. They're trying to change
it's
the whole
confusing as
direction of this.
who's fabricating what, because if this is Christopher Watt's father-in-law's belief that she was going back and forth between their house and the in-laws' house, Ronnie and Cindy Watt's house, is that what he was told? Is that what he was led to believe?
I
Because
don't
the
know.
people who contacted me and said there was an open CPS case, they claimed that she was not allowed to be staying the entire time at one place, that she was supposed to be going back and forth.
Oh, well,
And you
yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he was led to believe that was what was going on. Maybe that's what was supposed to be going on, so that's what they said. I don't know.
Right. That's very possible. Yeah.
But if you're accusing your mother-in-law of attempting to murder one of the children and telling her that the girls will never step foot in that house again, that was what, July 8th or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Well, you understand.
it makes no sense that 6 or 8 weeks later
They weren't going back and forth. There's just
they
no
weren't
way.
going back and forth at all. But
No.
if that was part of that family plan that they were supposed to go back and forth, then maybe that's where that back and forth thing comes up, and maybe that's actually what the father-in-law was told.
That could be. Yeah. Because I'm
Maybe,
sure, I think he was directed what to say and not to say also. I really do.
and maybe then that was part of the ongoing family plan, because what I was told is there were so many infractions against the family plan that was how the report was going to be sounding very firm
Right.
at that court hearing. So it all kind of fits.
That
I
makes
think,
sense. Yeah.
well, and the fact that none of it really does make sense, that it's also confusing and weird, I think all kind of fits.
Hmm. And Jackie saying that she looked up SW in North Carolina and 3 different date of births come up. I don't doubt it.
3 different date of births.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if she did that like to get different credit cards or something.
Yeah. Because she used different last names too, remember?
Yes, and who the heck is Veronica Horn?
That I have not been able to figure that one out. That is one thing that's totally got me stumped. It had to be one of her personalities.
Yeah, I was going to say that ties into what we were talking about the other day, doesn't it?
It does, exactly. That's the only thing that it could be, because we can't, there's no way to figure that one out at all. I mean, there's no last names, no marriages, or nothing with that last name. And Veronica, I mean, wow, that's way out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder if that personality wore a big wig. Well, it would fit with some of those shoes in that shoe closet, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I was thinking that too, in those
I mean,
bags, yeah.
that Veronica would not know that you shouldn't hang up purses on a hanger.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay, let's roll here.
That big bench she had to carry with her. So she told us all, get rid of anything that's got nuts or any, just get it up high enough. Don't throw it away, just get it out, no problem. My wife cleaned the whole house out, and I had to go looking for
Okay,
stuff.
he just said something that I hadn't picked up on before. He just said that she's, of course, ordering everyone around, telling them to get everything up high. She said you don't have to throw it away, just get it up high.
But
Well,
shouldn't
wait.
he already know that, living with them for the 13, 16 months they did? He should have already known that. She shouldn't have to tell him anything, right?
And don't you think it's interesting that we're told that the brother had pistachios in his bedroom and she never had them around, but
Right.
Cindy Watts had a bag of pistachios that were not even opened yet, and she had a big meltdown about it. So
Oh, yeah.
evidently, she told her parents that you don't have to throw it away, but she evidently thought it was okay to accuse her mother-in-law of attempted murder because her mother-in-law didn't throw away a closed bag of pistachios.
Yeah. It's just, there you go. So, again, stuff that apparently made
So she
up.
told her the same thing. They did go over her house a couple times.
A couple times.
And Chris's mom really never got along with Shannon.
Oh,
So
for
he took
Pete's
his
sake.
son away from him. That's how we took it. They didn't come.
Again.
We're 4 minutes and 57 seconds into the interview, and he's telling law enforcement that Christopher Watts' mom, Cindy Watts, never really got along with Christopher Watts' wife. We know that
Yeah,
Cindy
so
Watts.
just to go along with that letter that SR sent, like where she immediately went to directing and attacking the mother-in-law. I mean, is that why he's saying this? So it'll
Well,
kind of fit in that they get that letter.
Cindy Watts and her daughter-in-law got along very well for over 5 years straight. So I don't understand this statement, never got along. That makes no sense.
She watched the kids. She watched Bella when Cece was born, and she spent time there helping out and stuff. She was right there. There's videos of her going to the hospital and taking Bella when Cece was born. I mean, that stuff doesn't make sense. You don't have, and they'd come there and stayed when they went to,
when they went on vacation
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't fit, right? They never got along, really, because there's a whole lot of evidence. There's a lot of evidence to show that they did, in fact, get along very well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Their engagement party didn't come to nothing to theirs.
They didn't come to nothing to theirs? What? They gave a party? Was that the birthday party for Cece that Christopher Watts' wife was saying that her mother-in-law was evil and her father-in-law was stupid?
Right.
And I have a question. If you have deceased relatives and their bodies were found out at the job site and whatever, why is anyone discussing Cindy Watts?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Why does anyone care whether or not somebody went to a birthday party? Why, I'm sure he's going to be going into the wedding thing. Why does anyone care that 5.5 years earlier, that the wedding list, whatever, the people attending the wedding, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't we hearing about the other wedding? Who didn't go to that wedding?
Did you notice, though, too, at Cece's birthday party, it didn't show any of her family there at the party either, did it?
It had a bunch of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like a regular, it didn't look like it was set up like a regular, like in somebody's home. It looked like it was
a cafeteria or something of a school or something, I think. Yeah.
Right. So was she in daycare when she was in or were the kids in daycare when they were in North Carolina?
Maybe at a church or at a summer, where they have those summer things at churches, during the summer for kids, vacation Bible school and stuff.
I'm wondering if maybe, if it's true about that whole family plan that they had to be in daycare in Colorado, maybe they had to be in daycare in North Carolina too. Maybe that's why the time spent with Cindy was on the weekends.
Well, yeah, because Cindy worked, right, through the week.
Yep, Cindy worked. But if the girls maybe were in daycare in North Carolina, who knows? Because, that birthday party didn't look like a family celebration. It looked like... I
didn't see any of her family there either. It didn't show any family on either side in that picture of the video that she's blowing that candle out on that cupcake. Only one I seen was Bella.
And overall, what would it matter who did what? Because aren't there dead bodies at this point? Like, again, it's just...
What is the importance of this? I mean, how does this even play into anything? That has nothing to do with what happened. It just, when does that become something that's so important that you have to sit here and have a discussion on? Right.
In interview after interview, we hear how terrible Cindy Watts is, right? And we hear how they got along.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think that everybody was supposed to say how terrible Cindy Watts was so that law enforcement would be maybe not interested in even interviewing Cindy Watts.
Yeah, I do too.
Or if they did interview Cindy Watts, which I think everyone involved would have figured they would have, I'm surprised they didn't, then if Cindy Watts did say something like, well, I'm concerned because my daughter-in-law, I think, in my opinion, is severely mentally ill, then they would just chalk it off by saying, well, yeah, everyone told them already that she never liked her daughter-in-law.
Yes.
So maybe they were setting the stage just in case during any interview with Cindy.
Exactly. Setting the stage. That's exactly what I think. Yep.
That is right, I think. I do, because if they come in early, fast and hard with this narrative that Cindy Watts never really liked her, then they would be, I guess, making it where Cindy's credibility may have been lessened.
Yeah, then make her biased against her, against SW. So that could
Right.
be the direction they wanted to take it. So if she was biased against SW, well, then maybe what there was going to go, well, then his mom made him turn against her too. I kind of see where they're trying to go with this. I do.
Right. Well, if they're setting the stage so that law enforcement won't take Cindy Watts seriously, then let's take it a step further and wonder what is it they don't want law enforcement to hear from Cindy Watts. And my hunch would be that that whole nut meltdown, if you're investigating the murder of two small children, the murders of two small children, and you hear that 1 month before that you're, the one of the subjects of the case all of a sudden lost her temper and came charging toward another person, accusing her of attempted murder, that would be
scared the kids scared all the kids, and they started hiding and stuff. That was pretty scary, traumatic.
They were
I would say.
look in her eyes.
Yeah.
So if you hear 1 month before two small children were murdered, that one of the people involved in the tragedy itself, that she had absolutely gone ballistic, who would be the one person that law enforcement would have heard that from would have been Cindy Watts.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think it's setting the stage so that nobody would believe Cindy Watts.
Mm-hmm. And that Christmas video, that look in her eyes then, if they looked anything like that and Cindy seen that, I can see why everybody was flipping out. Because that, her eyes, oh my gosh.
Cindy Watts said that she was afraid of her, and I don't blame her a bit.
I don't either.
I think
they walked on eggshells right around her. Yeah.
Every right and reason to be afraid of her.
All right.
So when Shannon was over I think it was the second week she was there, the weekend, she had called me up frantically and said, "Get me the hell out of here now." The mother had nuts all over the place, and they're all warm.
The mother, her name was Cindy.
Had nuts all over the place.
Had nuts all over the place? Really?
How do you know? Was you there? Did you go on the
This is the way. So the mother, at that time, Shannon was feeding the girls some hot dogs for lunch and all this, and she had her other two nieces and nephews over, and they came out with ice cream with all these nuts in it, and so ended up being, Shannon and her had little words, and Shannon said no, and she called me up and said, "I gotta go. We just had a blowout because, she's got nuts on the table, nuts on the in the cabinet right there, open for this little girl." And she said, "No, I'm done." And so she told Shannon, "Well, that's just a training lesson or something like that to her." I'm like, it's a 3-year-old girl you're talking to.
Yeah, it is a 3-year-old girl who, if her mother's going to be claiming she's deathly allergic and severely anaphylactic to certain foods, then she needs to be taught that she doesn't grab food. And that's
a training lesson? Wow.
And that's what Cindy Watts was saying about when she said that to her daughter-in-law. She was saying that Cece really needs to learn that she can't just grab whatever she wants. That is actually a very loving and protective lesson for a child that the mother is claiming could die from whatever food.
Well, yeah, it would be to the benefit for them to teach her that, like if she's at somebody else's home or even at school, or if another child at school would offer something, she would know, no, you can't have those things, and this is why.
Right.
It should have been a teaching pattern. It should have been, but yeah.
Especially at 3 years old.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, by 3 years old, Cece's reaction to not being able to have ice cream in her cup, which is actually what was going on, it had nothing to do with any nuts on any ice cream.
Exactly. It didn't have. She wanted it in a cup like the other kids had. Exactly.
Yeah. And instead of, like Cindy said in that interview, or not interview, that phone conversation, Why didn't her daughter-in-law just go put her ice cream in a cup?
Well,
But
that's too easy. You can't, that would be too simple. Then you can't cause a drama and a shit show, right? Yeah.
She would have had to get up off her butt. That's one thing. But but Cece, in trying to scream for her ice cream rights or whatever, she didn't verbalize, "Mommy, I want my ice cream in a cup." She was like, "Oh, I want a cup." Yeah. From the way Cindy Watts described it, and I believe Cindy Watts. What she did instead is she threw herself on the floor and started screaming. So it's like,
right.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
is that the language behind closed doors on Saratoga Trail? Do you kick and scream? Do you kick, scream, and demand and cry?
And is that where the kicking and screaming, is that where she learned to kick and scream, watching her mom with those strong legs kick and scream? Yeah.
And
Think about that.
Exactly. And then Cindy said that as soon as Cece started screaming, that her daughter-in-law started screaming and charging toward her. I think that she had so little experience dealing with those kids, and I think she didn't have the skills to deal with those kids, that I think when Cece started her tantrum, that I think she just totally joined in. And she joined in the tantrum.
Exactly.
Something you were trying to, discipline. Birthday present. Hey, your sister's getting a birthday present today. You're not getting one because it's not your birthday. That's some kind of, saying this is what you do,
Right.
So Shannon called Chris and told Chris about it. So Chris said he called his parents that night, and his mother told him the same thing. That's what we heard. I didn't hear it, but that's what Shannon had said. So, of course, Shannon never went back to the house with the children.
Okay.
She said,
here we go. He said, of course, so she never went back with the children. I don't think that's of course. I think there's very obviously a huge misunderstanding about what really happened.
Right.
And I think that the proper course would have been for Christopher Watt's wife to get some help first and to apologize to her mother-in-law and to apologize to everybody who was there for her bad behavior.
Right. She's lucky that her mother-in-law didn't call the cops when she started going into that rage and coming toward her and scaring everybody like she did.
I think she should have dialed 911, and I think they should have sent an ambulance for her.
I do too. I think it would have changed maybe possibly the outcome. I don't know.
But I find it interesting too that at the very beginning of his police interview, he said he didn't know of any problems between them.
Yeah, right. He didn't know. No, he didn't. That's what he said.
But here we have 1 month before 2 little children were murdered, that his daughter's calling him saying, "Get me the hell out of here."
Yeah, and on top of that, you're going to go spend 6 weeks, even if you were because of the pregnancy, not going to get a chance to do it again, and blah this and blah that. Not very many people are going to go spend 6 weeks visiting like that and have their kids away from home the whole summer.
It would not have been healthy for 2 little girls who depended so heavily on one of their parents to take care of them. It would not have been healthy to remove them from that parent's care.
And they were out playing outside and being around in the rain and stuff. We don't ever see any pictures of that going on at their home. They was just out on the patio getting squirted with the squirt bottle and stuff. Yeah, tortured, I should say.
Or sit on the counter and wait to be fed because there's a video to make.
Right. Or have being terrified from Santa. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, there was a few times that Shannon would FaceTime Chris because she would FaceTime every night because of the children. And there was a few times, a couple times it did catch me off guard, like, what's going on? Because she was like, are you going to pay attention to the children? Like he was in another, another world out there.
I gotta stop.
Yeah, that's something.
Never thought about this one before, but she's chastising him for not paying attention to the children.
Yeah, when she doesn't pay it. Yeah, right. Wow.
Oh, that was cute.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. There we go. There you go. Twist. There they go. Twisting where it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's bullshit. Yeah, here we go. That's a good example.
Right.
Yeah.
the man who got out of work, went home, changed his clothes, got out in the car, picked the kids up at daycare, fixed them dinner, gave them their beds, you know, right?
Put them to bed, read them a story, sang to them, and all that. Yeah.
Well, she's complaining that she's stuck with the kids while he's living the bachelor life, right?
Yeah.
And she's supposedly, you know, feigning offense that he turned away from the camera for a second.
What a joke. Oh my God. Yeah.
Maybe she should have put her phone down at some point and actually paid attention to the kids.
See what we've learned just in this little bit of time.
I know it. I feel like we completed the entire live chat here. It's like, oh my gosh, I hadn't heard that one before. I hadn't,
Yeah.
but I never stopped at the irony of it because it's like, are you kidding me? You know, a laptop? No, put down your phone and pay attention to your kid.
Exactly.
You want to take
And
a
then
picture?
maybe you can remember what you took them to the hospital for, what they were sick with too, actually.
Yeah, remember what kind of pneumonia they have, or if they have pneumonia, right? Or
Couldn't remember what the other one was being treated for, but just have to run its course, or she just have to get over it or whatever. Yeah.
Or you know, maybe when your daughter's falling down the stairs head first, you should, you know, pay attention to the kid.
Yeah.
Did you see the video?
God.
Somebody did a video recently. I'm not sure who. Somebody did a video recently where, or maybe I just saw it recently. Maybe it was earlier. I don't know. But where they're saying that you can hear Bella in the background saying, "Mommy, mommy," and crying. And kept saying, just a minute, just a minute, just a minute. And she kept ignoring her. And at one point, Bella said, "It hurts." And she kept ignoring her.
There
So, I mean,
is a couple of videos I remember where you could hear her in the background fussing and stuff. She told her, just a minute, just give me a minute, just give me a minute. And she'd go, even in that makeup twirl, she'd do that to Cece. She'd be standing there and she'd say, just a minute, Cece, you know, because she was starting to fuss. She wanted her to hold her, but she was too interested in showing the results of her makeover she did. And you could just see her almost gritting her teeth because she was acting up and, you know, fussing. And she was going to have to quit.
And so, yeah, just the irony is just so hilarious if you think about it, that the man who actually busted his ass to take care of the kids is being accused by the one
not paying attention.
Of not paying attention to the kids. Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's so ironic.
He's like, yeah. And, you know, like I said, and I started saying, well, what's he doing? You know, is he just not, you know, ignoring him and just not paying attention, watching TV or whatever, you know? When he came out, he was the same way. You know, if you've ever seen anything you've seen of Chris, he's just the same way. That's how he is. There's no, everything you see in the courtrooms or whatever, he's the same way. That's just how he was. As far as his demeanor, he was just more straightforward and, you know, quiet. Yeah, he wasn't really, you know, he talked to us when we were there. Everything would have a good time, but this just doesn't, you know. We went to the beach. The kids, it's the first time they ever went to the beach. And
I just want to stop it there for a second real quick and say that if she was so successful with all those MLMs, why was Bella 4.5, almost 5 years old, and she had never been to the beach before?
Right, never had touched. I don't think she'd ever even played with sand or felt dirt, right? Something like that.
Cindy Watts said she was afraid to touch the dirt.
Afraid to touch it. That's what it was.
Yeah. But if she's so flippin' successful, why the hell didn't she ever take her kids to the beach? You know?
And people in the neighborhood, a lot of people in the neighborhood didn't even know they had kids because they never seen them out. Remember?
Isn't that amazing?
People question that. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
So amazing that they didn't even know the kids lived at that house.
Right. Just 3 or 4 doors down. I mean, they'd never seen it. Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Anything, and Shannon never said anything to us about a separation, fights. I mean, I don't know if she wanted to just keep it from us and not, you know, get us involved.
Well, she didn't say anything to her parents about separation or fights, but she's telling the hairstylist that she's getting divorced and looking forward to being single again, and her mother asked her to stay there and not return to Colorado.
Yeah, she bought a book and mailed to him about what was it about saving your marriage or something like that? I don't know what it was. Some kind of a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then she supposedly bought one for herself too and highlighted the parts that he should really pay attention to. Like,
Again,
that's
here you go with the bullshit. It's more bullshit. What it is. It just is.
exactly, exactly. And then when I found out that he tossed it in the trash can, I thought, well, good for him. He stood up for himself at least at some point.
Yeah.
Good.
About
Yeah.
time, huh? Yeah.
Well, then wasn't she tracking the delivery? And as soon as it got delivered, she called him up and said, "Your book's there."
Something about it. I do believe she did. You know, she sent him or texted him or something. Did you get your book or whatever? Yeah. Have you started reading it or something?
Well, and probably while she's directing him which paragraphs to study, he probably already tossed it in the trash can.
I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't even open the thing. I would immediately put it in there. I just said, I don't need it. You need it. You read it.
And what I find interesting with the narrative that we've been hearing for 3.5 years is that we're supposed to believe that because she bought him a book and told him to read it, that she was really trying hard to save her marriage. At the same time, she's telling him that his mother is evil and his father's stupid, and she refuses to ever allow them to see the kids again.
Right. And she's going to be gone for 6 weeks from him. That whole thing doesn't make any sense at all. There's
And
no
then she's gonna fly
justification
out
in that.
again. As soon as she lands, then she turns around and flies out again to hang out with a bunch of MLMers. Come on.
Yeah,
You know,
she didn't even go get checked. She'd been so sick and everything. She didn't even bother to go to the doctor and get checked or anything, even when she got back home. It's just baloney. It just
well,
is.
the thing of would you stay with me if we didn't have kids?
Yeah.
Come on. I guess if working on the marriage means she bought a book and told him to read it, then I feel sorry for anyone who gave her that advice. If that's what they think, maybe
Exactly.
somebody, because she was very public with her hatred, maybe somebody could have, said to her, dared to say to her, if you want to save your marriage, maybe you should stop calling his mother evil.
Right, exactly. That would have been a good start, wouldn't it? Yes.
He's trying to be helpful. Maybe stop calling his dad stupid. And right before that birthday party, when she was attacking them again, maybe somebody could have said to her, dared to say to her, stop attacking your in-laws. That's not a good look on you.
Well, if she really was interested and she should have just called him and said, I wish y'all please come to her birthday party. There's a lot of things that she could have done if she was really interested in her marriage or interested in anything. She wasn't. It's very obvious. It was over and done with. It just is.
And if she wouldn't have been attacking them, they were planning on going. Right. But they actually were planning on going. But then when the harassment and attacks started again, they decided that they just simply were not welcome to go.
It's the same thing with the wedding. They originally planned on going, was helping and all involved in it. And then everything, all over those invitations and all that stuff come up and see it turned. And his grandmother was the only one that went. So, yeah.
Well,
I think it was a pattern she wanted. She wanted that stuff to happen, is what I think.
I don't think she wanted her family anywhere near his family. I think she wanted to make sure that nobody talked.
Yeah.
We knew nothing about anything that they were doing, separation or any of this stuff, until this all happened. Friends of Shannon said, no, this is what was going on. And they said, they had a suspicion that he may have been cheating on her because she had come home.
I wonder if they had any suspicion at all that she may have been abusive toward him with the way she was attacking everybody.
Right.
She was gone Saturday he was going to a baseball game. And I caught that kind of odd because he never leaves the kids with somebody else and Shannon's not there. He's usually always home. And they made it ready to go to a baseball game. But she came home and she checked her finances on the phone and found out he spent $60-something.
Yeah. When did she do that?
Yeah.
When did she have time to do that?
Ding, 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 ding.
Here you go. More bullshit. There's no way.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, how did he know that? He didn't even talk to her. She went,
home and she checked her finances on the phone and she saw that restaurant tab, right? She came home. Everyone pay attention. Where did she come home from? She came home from Arizona.
Right.
And supposedly, after she walked in that house, supposedly nobody ever talked to her again.
Exactly.
So she came home. She checked her finances on her phone, and she found that receipt. Blah 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 blah.
And she called her dad and told him about it. Now, does that make sense at all? Come on, that time in that time of morning stuff. Really? That's what he's saying. He's suggesting because
No,
she's
no,
sending
hold on,
a SOS
hold
or
on.
something.
No, hang on. He'll be asked by law enforcement how he knows that, because
Okay.
he is saying very clearly to the police officer that Christopher Watt's wife came home from Arizona, pulled up her finances on her phone, found that restaurant bar tab, and here we go. Listen to this.
Okay.
So, I mean, unless you went to a real expensive restaurant, $60 for a couple beers, and that may have caused a little bit of, with her, like I said, if she knew anything that was thought something, that really threw her off, saying $60 for salmon and that.
So he told her that, or she called him?
No, I don't know if she was home at the time or if she called him up.
Oh, that's interesting. She
Oh.
came home. She came home. That was pretty clear.
Mhm.
She came home. She pulled up the blah, 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 blah. And now when the police officer says, well, how do you know that? Did she call you or whatever? Oh, no. I don't know if she was there. Okay, so here we go.
But it just didn't sound right to her.
How do you know that conversation? Did she tell you this?
No, somebody else told her. Her girlfriend, I think she told Nikki.
Really?
Wow.
How did she tell Nikki?
Yeah, how'd Nikki know? Yeah.
Because Nikki isn't saying that she talked to her after she got home.
Yeah. She just pulled in the driveway and let her get out. She didn't talk to her again after that, remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 5.5 hours later, she was so concerned for her safety that she, got all worried, right? Because she didn't see her on social media.
Right.
So she came home, she checked her phone, blah, blah, blah. Well, how do you know that? Well, she told one of her friends. I think she told Nikki. That means then that we're supposed to believe that after she got home, she did have contact with other people. I'm telling you guys, it was moving day. I think it was moving day. I think there were other people in that house. I do not believe that Christopher Watt's wife was supposed to be there. I do not believe that Bella and Cece were supposed to be within her reach. I think that upcoming court hearing was that ongoing family matter was to sever her parental rights. And I do think that there was a somebody or a few somebodies in that house when Christopher Watts came home. She came home and checked the finances on her phone.
Right.
Was there, and then she told us, and I mean, like I said, that some of the stuff is kind of not all my words. So
right, and I just need to make sure I understand which is
Whoa.
She told us.
Whoa, and he said some of the stuff are not my words. I'm going to back it up because I think he just said. I think he's just said Nikki was there.
Yeah.
And she checked her finances on the phone and found out he spent $60-something for dinner. And he said, "Yeah, I went out and had salmon and a couple of beers." So, I mean, unless you went to a real expensive restaurant, $60 for a couple of beers, and that may have caused a little bit of, with her, like I said, if she knew anything that was thought something, that really threw her off, saying $60 for salmon and that.
So he told her that, or she called him?
No, I don't know if she was home at the time or if she called him up. But I mean, it just didn't sound right to her.
And how do you know that conversation? Did she tell you this?
No, somebody else told her. Her girlfriend, I think she told Nikki, the one that was there, and then she told us. And I mean, like I said, that some of the stuff is kind of not all my words. So
right, and I just need.
Some of the stuff is kind of not all my words, but he thinks Nikki because Nikki was there.
Nikki was there. He just said it. Yep.
Well, he just said that he wasn't sure if she was home or not right after he said she came home.
And these are investigators asking these questions, and they can't even see what's going on in these interviews with their own these people's words. Oh, wow. Mm.
And I think it's interesting how they do the open-ended, the free-flowing interview, because typically law enforcement will ask a series of questions, and then the questions will multiply, right? Depending on the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I get kind of the feeling from this interview that's a little bit free flowing, but maybe that's part of the technique, is to kind of see where he goes with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Isn't that interesting? She came home.
Yeah.
Nikki was there, but of course by then he didn't know for sure if she was home. Well, he just said she came home.
Yeah. Wow.
I know
Those
it.
little words. This just changed the whole thing again. Wow.
I know it. We should probably make it a 10-part series so we can recover from these aha moments.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Mm.
So she came home. She checked her phone. She got upset. How do you know this? And I think it's very interesting, too, that he is saying that some of these words are not his own. Why? Why are some of these words not his own? Because the interviewer, the police officer, the investigator, he isn't interested in hearing other people's words.
Mm-hmm.
He's interviewing Christopher Watt's father-in-law, and those are the words he wants to hear, are Christopher Watt's father-in-law's own words.
Right.
So this whole idea of some of these words are not his own, I think is how he said it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why would they be not his? Why would he be using any words that are not his own?
I don't know. That this is not making sense at all. Nope. Mm-mm. Wow.
I'm going to
Yeah.
hear that one again, because I'm not sure if I quoted it correctly. I think
Yeah.
he said some of these words are not my own, but let's see what he says.
Okay.
So he told her that, or she called him?
No, I don't know if she was home at the time or if she called him up. But it just didn't sound right to her.
And how do you know that conversation? Did she tell you this?
No, somebody else told me. Her girlfriend, I think she told me one that was there, and then she told us. And I mean, like I said, that some of the stuff is kind of not all my words. So
right, and I just need to make sure I understand which is
So you're right. He said, and she told us, and then he said, not all these words are his, his words.
Right.
Huh. I think he said kind of not his words.
Kind of not. Yeah.
Why would they not be his words?
Well, he has to backtrack because he's kind of catching himself up his own, falling over his own words. He's catching himself a little bit. This isn't going to make sense.
And we don't have the video, so we don't know if the police officer might have looked shocked or surprised or something, or maybe writing down notes at that point that he may have thought, wait a minute, I just said she came home,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is interesting.
May have thought, oops, I just said she came home.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, we've already caught all this in this little bit of time, and just more inconsistency.
Yeah. Minutes, just a few minutes. Look at this. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that personally from anybody.
Oh, wait a minute. She told us, and now he says I didn't hear that personally from anybody.
Wow.
Did you tell them or not? She told us, right?
Yeah.
And then in the next breath, he's saying he didn't hear it personally from anybody.
Yeah, see? Well. Oh, this is going to get interesting.
Okay, let's see what else.
I believe we talked to him and the kids that Sunday night for FaceTime. I believe Bella was eating cold pizza and some kind of a Jolly Rancher taffy or something like that it was.
There's that super good nutrition that Christopher
Yeah.
Watts, I thought, was always known for making sure the girls were eating healthy foods.
And he thinks that that's when they FaceTime. He thinks they did. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah, he thinks. Yeah.
Is
Now
that
he's
would
not
have
even sure about that. That's what he said. He thinks. Yeah.
that would have been the last time that he would have spoken to them,
Right.
but he's not sure when that was.
That's what he said. He thinks. He said, I think. Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh no, I just accidentally, instead of hitting the arrow, I hit the red thingy. So hold on, I got to find our place here. Oh,
Engagement party didn't come to nothing to theirs.
okay, I'll scoop ahead a little bit. We heard that already.
So Shannon called Chris and told Chris about it. So Chris said he called his parents that night. When he went, she was gone Saturday till he was going to a baseball game. And it was I caught that kind of odd because he never leaves the kids with somebody else if Shannon's not there. He's usually always home.
Well, since I screwed up on where we were in the video, that's another good point. He thought that was odd that Christopher Watts went somewhere because he's always home with the kids.
Always home
Well,
with the kids. Yeah. Didn't want to leave them with anybody. Okay.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that he's always home with the kids? Because even when she was talking to that lawyer all about divorce back in March, I think it was, she's
Yeah.
out on a Friday or Saturday night having dinner out at the mall. And where
Yeah.
was he? Home with the kids. He was
Home with
always
the
home with the kids.
hmm
Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll keep
Oh
trying to
my
find
gosh.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to go ahead a little bit. Yeah.
And they made it ready.
Make sure I understand which is.
Yeah, I mean I didn't hear that personally from anybody.
Okay.
You know, I believe we talked to him and the kids that Sunday night for FaceTime. I believe Bella was eating cold pizza and some kind of a Jolly Rancher taffy or something like that it was. And that was the last time I've talked to anybody. I haven't, the last time I talked to my daughter, I got my phone. It was a while. But she went away, and I usually don't bother her when she's away, I'll text her here and there, but that's the last until that morning when I found, that afternoon we found everything.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go.
That's the last until that morning when until that afternoon.
Right. See, he's getting everything twisted. Oh boy, this is getting good. Okay.
My wife was trying to get a hold of Chris. Well, first she tried to get a hold of my daughter.
Oh, really?
That Monday
Did
morning.
she? My wife was trying to get a hold of Chris. Well, first she was trying to get a hold of my daughter early that Monday morning.
There was no missed calls. They said, where she tried to get a hold of SW. From the way I understood, the way it said that there's no proof that she did try to get a hold of her.
Right. That's what a lot of people are saying, is that there weren't any calls from her to her daughter.
Right. Yeah. Odd.
She kept calling her.
Oh, really?
She texted her.
Really?
She kept calling her, and she couldn't get a hold of her, so she was texting her. But people are saying, who have dug into the Discovery stuff with the phone calls, that there were no calls. So interesting.
Yeah. This getting into some more of that BS stuff, right? Oh my.
She texted her something, but she says she texted her. Shannon didn't want to bother with my wife because my wife can be a little pushy sometimes.
Oh.
She can tell her to go, just leave me alone,
Whoa.
Yeah, there you go.
But it was Cindy Watts who she had trouble with.
Yeah.
It was Cindy Watts who she had trouble with?
Yeah, no, it was not. It was her own mother. It was her own mother. She told, as a matter of fact, she told him when she left that she would never go back and live again. Remember, that's what they said. She would never go back and live at home again.
Do you mean when Christopher Watt's wife was 17 or when she kicked her out of her house?
Well, I don't know when she left home, when she was a teenager, when she left home. She said she would
Yeah.
never go back and live there ever again. Yeah.
Yeah, I was told that
They were two very strong, strong-headed Italian women. Remember? Yeah.
well,
Pretty
I
scenario
was
too.
told, I was told that she said she vowed that she would never live under that roof again.
Yeah, under the roof again. That's right. That was what it was.
And that was, I was told she was 17 when that happened. And
Mm-hmm.
and then Cindy Watts said that when she was out there after they took that vacation, that she was there when there was a really bad fight too. Cindy Watts talked quite a bit about that.
We don't have any proof that she ever graduated from high school either. So she could have left home at 17 and never did finish school. We don't know that.
I
There's
don't
no
think
proof.
she did.
I don't think so either.
I don't think she did.
Nope.
Fine. I mean, she never called me to say if you text Shannon to find out.
So that was their dynamic then, evidently, is that his wife would call her, she would call her dad and say, I'm fine, leave me alone.
You're right. Yeah.
Huh. But again, people discussing this case who claim they've dug in deep to the whole phone thing,
right,
insist that there weren't any calls. So
exactly. Yeah, that's why I went, whoa, wait a minute, because, and I mean, those people have dug deep into this and they said there's none. They have no proof there was any at all. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting. Yeah.
You better call the hospital or something, because Shannon's not answering her phone and she's supposed to take Bella to kindergarten. And when Shannon was here, she was just so excited to take her, because I said, why don't you take her to the new school you guys just had built up the street? She said, no, Dad, because then if she does that, then she's got to go to pre-K again. I want her to start kindergarten right now.
And here we go.
Yeah. Bella wasn't old enough to start kindergarten, you guys.
Absolutely. That's another thing that people are being misled about. Totally. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of misleading, a lot of stuff not. Do you see already the mass confusion just in this little bit of stuff here? I mean, we just barely touched it, and look what we're finding out.
We're 11 minutes in, and we have like 10
yeah.
Wow.
Oh my.
But when it comes to being on time and everything, so when
being on time for what? Being on time for what?
Yeah, what?
For her job every day? Where? For what? Being on time for what?
Exactly. You know? I like to know what that is. Yeah.
The people who insist that there's an open CPS case at the time of the tragedy insist that part of the family plan was that if the children were not both at daycare at the start of the daycare day, that they were to contact the authorities immediately.
Right. I've heard, yes.
So maybe that's why she was a stickler for being on time.
That could have been.
Chris called her back. So yeah, I texted her a few times. She's in one of her moods. She said she was going to her girlfriend's house, and that we had a little bit of fight this morning, but nothing.
So she's in one of her moods?
Yeah, well, yeah.
She said she was going to one of her girlfriend's houses? Is that the play date with her other two daughters?
Other two daughters, yes, exactly. Because that was said, and everybody said, oh, she was just upset, and that was just a slip up, you know. She didn't mean to say it like that, or it just didn't come out right. I'm not so sure of that at all.
She didn't sound upset when she very clearly articulated that Christopher Watt's wife was at a play date, or she was supposed to go to a play date with her other two daughters.
Big difference, yeah. Oh my goodness, this is just.
Then Nicole called Sandy up and told her that the police are at the house because she can't get a hold of Sandy. Get a hold of Shannon. That's the one that dropped her off that night. And she said, I can't get in the front door because the lock was on, the safety lock I put on there. So then they got a hold of the cops. I called Chris twice and said, where are you? They're at the house. Where's Shannon? Blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm on my way. I'm flying. I'm getting there. And then he got to the house, and then
He's claiming that he called Chris twice and said, "Where are
He
you?" And
said he's flying there. Did I just hear that he said he was going to fly there? Is that what he
well,
said?
he meant to get there fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone talking about any calls from Christopher Watt's father-in-law to Chris.
No, this is first I've heard this. Oh, I missed this too. Oh, wow. This is why we need to do this. You learn all kinds of things. Yeah.
Well, and I know you saw the post, so you know the new policy for our channel.
Yeah.
And I think that by moving in this direction where we're simply going to talk about the true crime cases and we're going to ignore all the other hullabaloo.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to actually dig into these details better and not waste our energy with all the bull,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting because I didn't know.
I didn't know all this either. I mean,
I
I
didn't
told
know
you
that.
though, I've gone and looked at the videos, and every time I watch videos, though, I pick the ones that haven't been removed. But I learn something new every time. So here you go. It's like this. You can go back and listen to this, and you pick up little things that make you go, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Christopher Watt's mother-in-law was calling his wife multiple times, wouldn't that be in the discovery?
You would think, wouldn't you? Yeah.
If he's calling Chris multiple times, wouldn't that have been in discovery?
You would think that too. I mean, there's just a lot of things that seems to not be there.
But 3.5 years later, people want to focus on the cell tower ping.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
my gosh, yeah.
Just going down. And then I don't know if it was the same day that Nate had called me and said that he had it on video that he backed his truck into the driveway that morning, which never ever gets back. I was living out here for over a year and a half in their house, and that truck never ever, his company truck never got pulled into that driveway because it leaked oil. For what Jenna said, she didn't want her driveway dirty with oil, so it would never.
I find that hard to believe with him being a mechanic that he'd let that truck go and leak oil, whether it was his truck or company truck. I find that very odd.
Well, and I wonder if perhaps Christopher Watt's father-in-law found that to be odd too, because he just said, at least that's what she said.
He said, yeah.
And so he's kind of doing a little step back there, not saying that truck leaked oil. He's saying at least that's what she said.
But they never said anything about an oil spot being in the driveway from when he backed it in there, though, did they? Nobody said anything about any oil being in the driveway, right?
And I agree with you. I highly doubt a company like that company and an employee like Christopher Watts would have had a truck that was leaking oil. I highly doubt it.
He would have fixed it himself before he'd let something like that go on, because that would have bugged him being a mechanic. I'm telling you, that don't make sense.
He had that truck for a long time too. If it was leaking oil, and if that's the excuse for not allowing him to pull his own truck into his own driveway, then at some point that truck's going to have mechanical issues if it's leaking oil for that long.
I thought it was because if he started it up, it would wake the kids up because they were real sensitive to hearing noise. Is the reason why.
It depends. It depends on who's telling the story.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And nothing was ever done in that house with that truck because it's a company truck. So when he told me that, and then he threw at me, he said, "Yeah," and then it was kind of funny because when you guys were gone, she was gone. He would took her car out of the driveway, out of the garage, and parked it down the street for a couple of days. I'm like, what? Why would he do something like that? So, and then when he told me the truck was back into the driveway, and then I heard, because Sandy was on the phone with them when they got into the house, and I was there, and they said, her cell phone is here, her purse is here, and then when I ended up getting a hold of the police, I said, "You better get a GPS." I mean, I say it that way, but I said, "You better get a GPS because something is wrong." That man never pulled his truck in, and it's in the driveway.
Hold on a minute here.
Yeah.
He just said that neighbor Nate contacted him. I think he said maybe the next day or something.
Right.
Now it's sounding like as soon as he heard that her purse and cell phone were there, that he got a hold of the police and said something's wrong because he never pulls his truck in the driveway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Need to find out how NA's son knew exactly where to go to find that phone and exactly how that first got discovered too. Yeah. Not making,
Exactly.
this isn't adding up. Not adding up.
Exactly. I agree.
Yes,
Whose name?
Nate's his neighbor.
The neighbor. Okay.
He's the one having all this on the video. And the cop's like, "What we got to do is she might just ran away." I said, "My daughter's phone is like a magnet. That phone does not leave her side. I don't care where she is. That phone is with her 24/7. That's her business. She runs the tribe business."
I do believe that she never let go of her phone. I don't believe that that phone was her business. I think that phone was her addiction.
Right. Now, I believe she probably did even have it right there by the bed or in the bed with her. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. Not at all.
Right.
Just saying. Yeah.
Well, she probably had to order stuff from eBay or something.
Yeah, she probably had the alarm on her phone set to take her medicine like she's supposed to before her feet hit the floor. Remember? Yeah.
But I thought she quit taking 28 pills.
I'm talking about the patches and those vitamins, like she said.
Yeah,
You know that.
I'm just being silly. It's like
I know. But,
I totally believe.
Mhm.
I totally believe that she had her phone in her hand at all times.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Yeah.
And think about that. You know, we're supposed to believe that Christopher Watts, in that first storyline, that he found out she killed the kids and then he strangled her because she killed the kids. We're supposed to believe that he came up behind her and she was kneeling, possibly as in prayer, and that she never fought back. Well, that isn't how it works, because whether or not she chose not to fight back, her body would have fought back. She would have had injuries consistent with being strangled.
But in
Her
the
body.
same sense, didn't he say something that she would have fought because those legs could be dangerous? She would have fought. Didn't he say that statement also? I believe. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I just really have always questioned that whole narrative that she supposedly just, decided that she would just sit still on her knees as if she was praying. Baloney. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I think
maybe on her knees over a toilet choking or vomiting because she took too much stuff. And
that's what I think. That's what I think. I think she died leaning over the toilet.
Me too.
But to this phone detail here, if I do think she probably had her phone on her at all times, and I think even when she was in the shower, she probably balanced it on some rack right outside the shower just in case it rang.
Mm-hmm.
So if whatever the narrative is, she was kneeling wherever and whatever, if that phone would have been on the floor in the bathroom, then it would have been moved, right?
Right.
And remember, that bathroom had a lot of cleaning smells going on.
Yep, and there was that sludge in the bottom of that toilet, and the same kind of sludge supposedly in her stomach. So, yeah,
yep,
there's a lot of things.
And let's remember, neighbor Betty very clearly said that there was a gray truck there until noon.
Right.
All morning long. Early in the morning, all morning long. Who knows? Probably all night long. And remember, people
say, "Oh, she was probably confused." I don't think that woman was confused about anything. I think she was with that neighborhood watch, and she knew exactly everything that went on in that neighborhood. Shoot.
I do not believe that neighbor Betty was the confused one in any of this story.
Oh, I don't either.
Not at all. So I think that whole phone thing of being tucked away in a sofa cushion somewhere, supposedly, I think there's something very illogical about all of it. I think that phone was probably picked up off of the bathroom floor before a heavy-duty cleaning went on.
Yeah. May even been scrubbed down a little bit, too.
Yeah, seriously.
Mm-hmm. It's a house without her phone. I told the cops that you can say what you got to say, but there's something wrong. And I mean, there's just so much stuff that's been going on afterwards, and like I went on TV and thanked everybody for it because I just can't understand. And for him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it, I don't believe that at all. But she would never ever hurt those kids in her life.
She took care of kids all her life?
I don't know how you could kill two little kids and then throw them in an oil tank.
I'm gonna rewind a second.
I heard that just really.
Yeah.
And then he threw at me. He said, "Yeah." And then it was kind of funny because when you guys were gone, she was gone. He would took her car out of the driveway, out of the garage, and parked it down the street for a couple of days. I'm like, what? Why would you do something like that? So, and then when he told me the truck was back into the driveway, and then I heard, because Sandy was on the phone with them when they got into the house, and I was there, and they said,
remember, Sandra was on the phone with them when they got into the house saying, check the knives.
Check the knives, yep.
her cell phone is here, her purse is here, and then when I ended up getting a hold of the police, I said, you better get a GPS. I mean, I say it that way, but I said, you better get a GPS because something is wrong. That man never pulls his truck in, and it's in the driveway. Nate's his neighbor.
The neighbor, okay.
He's the one that had all this on the video. And the cop's like, "Well, we got to do what we got to do." She might have just ran away. I said, "My daughter's phone is like a magnet. That phone does not leave her side. I don't care where she is. That phone is with her 24/7. That's her business. She runs the Thrive business, and she never leaves the house without her phone." I told the cops, "You can say what you got to say, but there's something wrong." And I mean, there's just so much stuff that's been going on afterwards, and like I went on TV and thanked everybody for it because I just can't understand. And for him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it, I don't believe that at all. But she would never.
Whoa! They have
another baby. It was just.
Yeah, back that up. Yeah.
GPS because something is wrong. That man never pulls his truck in, and it's in the driveway.
I'm sorry, Nate told you this?
Yes, Nate.
Who's Nate?
Nate's his neighbor.
The neighbor, okay.
He's the one that had all this on the video. And the cop's like, "Well, we got to do what we got to do." She might have just ran away. I said, "My daughter's phone is like a magnet. That phone does not leave her side. I don't care where she is. That phone is with her 24/7. That's her business. She runs the Thrive business, and she never leaves the house without her phone." I told the cops, "You can say what you got to say, but there's something wrong." And I mean, there's just so much stuff that's been going on afterwards, and like I went on TV and thanked everybody for it because I just can't understand. And for him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it, I don't believe that at all. But
what did he just say? Or saying my wife or my daughter did it?
Yeah, I missed that again. I mean, it went too fast. I need to hear that one more time.
I'm going to slow it down. I don't know how weird it'll sound, but I figured out how to slow it down. Let me do this. Playback.
Yeah.
I'm going to slow it down. It went too fast for me, like 2 times there. Okay, let's try it again.
Okay.
Just can't understand. And for him to do do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it. I don't believe that at all.
What? Is that what he said?
That's what I'm thinking I'm hearing. And I've never heard that before. Wow.
I'll play it again
Yeah, I missed that totally before. Wow.
at the slow speed and see if we can hear.
Yeah.
Oh, this is weird. This is weird. If that's what he said, I'm going to be going like, what? Okay, here we go. Let's try to hear it.
Just can't understand. And, you know, for him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it, I don't believe that at all. But
I think that's what he said.
That's what I'm hearing. Ask the chap. That's what I'm hearing. Yep.
What are you guys hearing in chat? What are those words? Can anyone type out
Yeah.
what you're hearing? Because I'm going to play it again.
Yeah.
If anyone could please type out what words he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Jeanette says, my wife or my daughter did it. What's the word right before my wife? Right before he says my wife? What is that word? It sounds almost like Jame or shame or something like that. Or saying, maybe?
Yeah.
Three of a kind.
Yeah.
Three of a kind says it's as clear as day. Oh man, I'm sorry, Three of a kind, because I'm having a hard time hearing it.
Me too.
Okay, lady says saying my wife. Okay, so that word is saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's hear it again. For them saying my wife or daughter did it. Okay. Saying is that word. Okay, I'm going to play it again and see if I can hear that. That's what it is for. I don't know. I feel silly, but.
I don't. I mean, we need to hear this. I missed this totally. Wow.
Yeah, I've never.
This is really going to change it.
Yeah, this one's one of those moments where I'm going, what?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Hair pulling moments.
for him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it, I don't believe that.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
Oh, my goodness.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah. Out of his
Oh,
own mouth. Yep. I heard it loud and clear.
saying my wife or my daughter did it. Oh, my goodness.
That really sheds a different light on this, doesn't it? Wow. I don't know how I missed this all this time. I bet a lot of people's missed it, you know?
Oh, I've never heard anyone talking about it. I mean, I've heard it.
And we played it and played it and played it, and it's still not changed. Yep.
Saying my wife or my daughter did it.
Yeah.
Wow. And he's talking specifically he's talking specifically about murdering Bella and Cece.
Exactly. That's what he's talking about. He talked about CW first. So come on. I mean, this is, yeah, I've never heard this before. I've never noticed it before. I'm kind of in shock.
I'm just kind of staring at the screen going, like, oh my goodness.
Like, oh wow. Yeah. Well, maybe it's a good idea we decide to do this. We're going to learn all kinds of things. See? And it's his words, not ours, right?
This is just incredible. And somebody suggesting maybe he's saying that the YouTubers were saying that at the beginning. But it's important to note that at the beginning, when this case hit the headlines, what was going on social media were two things. A lot of fundraisers, number one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the actual true crime community getting attacked.
Right.
The content was not anybody playing any audio of anything. Exactly. And remember, this interview was...
We didn't have access to it. You didn't have access to this then. Yeah.
This interview wasn't even taking place yet.
Right.
And he would have been one of the very first interviewed.
Yeah.
Wow.
This just sheds a whole new light on it, doesn't it? Yep.
Wow.
I don't know what to think. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Now look at DG's comment. She
Okay.
wasn't supposed to be there. Remember that when Christopher Watts
Right.
she was supposed to be there.
Mm.
Maybe when they were in Arizona. Now remember, my theory is that she wasn't supposed to come back from North Carolina.
I don't think she was either. I really don't. But
Maybe
they couldn't stop her.
when they were in North or in Arizona, maybe somebody put the call out and said, "You guys have to get out here."
I do think she was that bad because it was said that a couple of those ladies called an ambulance and she refused to go.
And you were, the whole thing with the neighbor Betty. I do believe, Betty, that there were people there.
Oh, I do too. I think the woman knows exactly. She was with the neighborhood crime thing. She's used to keeping track of stuff like that, and up at the same time going to gym every day. Come on, she knew what was going on. She didn't miss anything.
She was sharp and she was honest. And somebody said in the chat she had no reason to lie.
Absolutely none whatsoever. Not like Nosy Nate. I mean, making all his bullshit up.
Well, yeah, because Christopher Watt's wife was diabetic and Nate knew it.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to play that again, you guys, and then I'll let it play a little further.
Okay. That's interesting.
I just have to hear this again.
For him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did it, I don't believe that at all. But
yeah.
She would never ever hurt those kids of her life.
Those kids were her life? She would never ever hurt those kids? Oh my goodness.
That's what he said. I'm hearing the same thing, and we've replayed it I don't know how many times. So yeah. Wow.
No.
This is eye-opening here. Yep.
It is. It is. I'm going to fix the speed on it and put it back to normal speed now.
Okay.
And let's see here. But yeah, I kind of was joking about making this into a series because I
think it's a good idea now.
we've only made it through 15 minutes.
I know, but see what all we have found out is it just amazes me that you can go back and you have to stop and listen because you didn't catch it before. Like you're going, oh my gosh, how did I miss that?
This is just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's a good
point. I don't know what to say. I just don't.
That's a good point, Jackie. Betty did not waver at all when she mentioned the people being there. She was very confident. She was insistent that there was a gray truck there. She saw it.
Well, so she seemed to know how long the truck was there too, right? So
she said it was there, I think, at 5:15 or something. It was still there at 6:45, and it was still there shortly before noon, right before the police.
That's what she said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just can't believe that he said that. That just has got to. I can't believe these cops didn't pick up on that. What is the deal?
I wonder how many people were at the house.
Well, yeah, we don't know, do we? That's another thing. And that I never heard him say anything about flying in there either. I don't know. I've never heard that.
I think he meant that he was in a hurry.
Yeah, well,
that he was flying there from work. But I'm curious.
Maybe he's already there and had to fly from one airport to another. Maybe I'm just saying.
Well, I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe it's time to dig into the discovery for those phone records and to see if there is any evidence at all that Christopher Watts or his wife ever received any phone call from her parents.
Right. Well, there's a lot of stuff missing, and they say there's things you can't get access to, and there's is it 40 or I can't remember. Is it 60 or 40 pages that's missing? I think it's, I don't know, but they can't. Yeah.
When they first released it, there were more.
Right.
Yeah.
But they filled it, and I know that oh, that Dr. B or whoever it was, she went there, made that trip, and she thought she was going to get all of it. She paid for them. And they said no, they couldn't give her the ones that were sealed, the pages that were sealed. I think it was 60 pages.
Well, Set the Record Straight has the full copy, right?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Set the Record Straight has the full, whatever you call it.
I hope he's listening to this.
I know it. I bet you Set the Record Straight's going, what? What did he just say?
Yeah, no kidding. Yep. This is getting good. Yeah.
This would really
Shocked.
fit.
I'm just shocked right now. I am.
Yeah, it's almost. Would you guys mind seriously if we don't continue at this point? If we pick up where we're leaving off, because this deserves more discussion. I think this would fit the moving day theory, you guys.
Yep, exactly. That she wasn't supposed to be there. Oh, this fits a lot of things. Yeah.
It does, and I don't know about you guys, but when we have something like this, like when Set the Record Straight put the toilet video up, it takes a day or two to just go like, oh my gosh,
It
right?
does, yes.
To just let it kind of go, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe what we can do with the next live chat, which is going to be Thursday, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to switch that time also to the evening because I do have an appointment that came in for Thursday afternoon. So I'm going to switch that one to being like after dinner.
Okay.
Maybe we should break this one up so that we can pick up where we left off here and kind of massage.
This is getting deep. This is getting into some deep. I mean, we may just blow this case wide open with what we're hearing and putting out.
If you look at it, the neighbor Betty being so, I think she was credible. I just believe it just makes total sense that a next door neighbor is not going to make something like that up.
Right. Well, yeah, but we do know that nosy Nate made everything up. Come on, anybody, he's going to run. How much common sense do you have to realize that there's no way somebody just can run and say, oh, she's diabetic just out of the clear blue like that? Why would he stick his nose into their business to begin with? And why in the world would he even put that out there if he wasn't? Yeah.
I did pick up on something else with this little bit that we've listened to so far, and that is that he either called Nate or Nate called him.
Yeah, I picked that up too. I thought he said Nate called him, but I might be wrong.
I have next door neighbors that my family members don't have direct dial to. They may know their names, they've met them, they may have hung out with them, whatever. In fact, but I don't think everyone has exchanged phone numbers and that they're quick to hop on the phone if they have any questions.
Right. Well, I've got neighbors across the street I've known for 35 years. I do have their phone number, but look, I mean, we just don't. That's not something we wouldn't stick our nose out and say to a cop.
Well, you have their phone number.
Yeah.
You have their phone number, but does your sister or does your son
have what? The neighbor's phone number?
Yeah.
No.
And in this case, we're talking about people who have their daughter's neighbor's phone number.
No, my mother doesn't even have the neighbor's phone number. She's still living, and she's never had it for contact at all. No, you're right. Not the phone number. Knew their name and address, never had their phone number. Right.
So for Nate to have the diabetes storyline going, he heard that from somebody, and now maybe he heard it from NA while she and her son were supposedly standing on, her son was supposedly standing on cars, right? But
right, supposedly.
But Nate was sure, he seemed very anxious to jump right in to tell the police that she was diabetic.
Yeah, and he sure didn't mind getting out of Dodge real quick when this stuff started getting deep either. I mean, he was moved. His mom, I think, bought that place or was living in that. I don't even know where he's at. I mean, I don't think anybody knows where he's at. I mean, he up and moved.
That's okay. That's okay. I think it's just interesting to examine, the details to the extent that he's right out there to tell the police that she was diabetic when she wasn't. And if you think about it, somebody had to tell him, okay?
Somebody did tell him to say that ahead of time. Yep, somebody got
Right.
to.
Not only did someone tell him about the whole diabetes farce, but also I think he was instructed to tell the police that little detail.
Right. I do too. I think they're the deeper. I mean, just going back and listen to this. Hey, somebody's gone to an awful lot of trouble to redirect us in a different direction. They just have, but they haven't been careful enough to get rid of some things that should have. Well, things they can't get rid of. That's been said. Um, and you can't twist that and turn those words and misdirect that a different way because that's just too much right there out of his mouth. Yeah.
And then
And
taking
maybe
his
that's why he said, people like us would never know the truth. Don't be too sure of that, FR. Just don't be real sure of that because we're kind of catching on to a lot of things that we're pretty smart about. So, yeah.
well, and as long as we're being told we'll never know the truth, then I guess we'll keep on wondering, won't we?
Right.
We'll keep
on
asking
looking, keep
questions.
listening.
Yeah, exactly. But think about this too. If we're looking at one neighbor who seems to be very confident and, I mean, she's sure of herself. The
Yeah.
other one looked a little nervous to me. If you
Right.
ask me, he looked a little nervous,
Mm-hmm.
fidgety. He happens to be the one who volunteered video supposedly incriminating Christopher Watts because he dared to back up the truck into his own driveway. So,
Yeah.
so if you think about it, law enforcement did not take the video from Nate.
Right.
They received whatever it was Nate gave them.
Right. Don't you
Typically,
think it's odd that nobody else in that neighborhood come forward with stuff off their cameras? Because darn good and well those people have cameras in their home.
I think it's extremely odd, and I think it's odd that even the house that Christopher Watts owned, and perhaps still does, we're confused about that. I think that they probably had plenty of surveillance cameras going too.
Right. A lot of cameras in that house.
That camera that we're supposed to believe was able to capture the image of Christopher Watts' wife the night before would have most certainly captured the image of Christopher Watts in the driveway.
And oil on the driveway from where that truck was leaking. Yeah. Because it
Yes,
sat there for a little bit, so it should have leaked a lot of oil out, right?
exactly.
I really think we're that dumb. Come on.
So yeah, this is really incredible because this absolutely supports the moving day theory, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
She
yeah.
came, she came home. Well, how do you
She
know? Well,
wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to be there. I keep thinking about that, and this is making
yes,
more sense. Yeah.
yes, and then the smells in that bathroom. The bathroom door was locked.
Right.
The neighbor seen, the truck there. This is really supporting the moving day theory, you guys.
Yeah. No wonder they start coming in attacking. They don't want you to go there. Every time you get close to something, they try to make you miserable, try to make you want to, throw the towel in. But see, there's got to be something too that we got to be awfully close because it's upsetting too many people. It just is. It's upsetting people. Yeah.
I
Now I know
think
why. Now I know why we're playing this, and they're going, "Oh boy," no. Hmm.
I do want to encourage people, if you do have a camera on your house and you happen to capture something interesting, or if you have any information, if you're any of the people who have contacted me, and I've said this before a gazillion times, please be sure that you are contacting the proper authorities and making sure that they have the information that you have said to me.
Right.
I think there's more to this story, and I mean, Christopher Watt's father-in-law said we'll never know the truth, like you said.
Yep.
So
Sure did. People like us wouldn't be able. We wouldn't. I guess we're just too stupid. But I don't think we're that dumb after all. I think we're picking up a lot of stuff maybe that we weren't supposed to know or pick up on. Hmm.
well, he said they don't tell people like us, but in fact, law
But
enforcement.
he's telling people like us out of his own mouth, though. That's the thing, right there. It's his word, not ours. That's coming out of this statement that we're picking all this up on.
Well, and
Not our word.
I think that's one of the things that I enjoy so much about true crime as a hobby is because, like the case of Casey Anthony, or the case of Darlie Routier, of course, the case of Betty Broderick. In so many of these cases, we can look at the details and go, aha, look at that. And we can connect the dots and we can figure out pretty much what we think happened.
Right.
Maybe our opinions aren't the same as everybody else's, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we're gutsy enough to actually question the narrative, right?
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to be gutsy enough because this whole thing's been so misdirected. There's so many people have been so misled on this, and it's becoming more obvious by the weeks and months that something's not right. Doesn't make sense.
Jeanette says to Paul, I think we know the truth already. I personally think that my moving day theory is kick butt.
Yeah.
Summer Breeze says that AD will be kicking himself. He didn't come up with this first. And Paul got a laugh out of that.
Well, I mean,
Paul said, I was thinking that too, Summer. Haha.
Yeah, he probably will be, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Paul says both kids
you might steal the information,
There are so many details about this case that do not make sense.
Yeah.
That we simply cannot help it as true crimers to say this is bullshit, and we're going to dig in and we're going to ask questions and we're going to try to figure out what the hell happened.
Well, it's our right to do that as far as I'm concerned. People that research true crime, that's their right to look into stuff and question things, especially when it doesn't make sense. And then you get in, you replay something like this, and you're picking all this up. I mean, that really makes you, I don't know. I'm kind of in shock right now. I just can't believe what I just heard, Well,
I think the last part combined with the part where he's saying how she came home, he just got through saying she came home, and then he backpedaled right away and said that he didn't know.
Right.
And then he said those weren't his words. And then he said that the person told them, us, plural, and then he said that he didn't hear it himself.
Exactly. Well, that goes back to all the harassment stuff, like standing on the driveway. Well, no, people supposedly come to them and we're sending them stuff and telling them this stuff. They weren't, getting this. They weren't on social media. Come on, they were on social media. All these fundraisers, they were out there all the time on social media. Come on.
And in this interview at the very beginning, he said that people were sending him messages on Facebook, I think he said, or on social media. So
yeah. From all over different places, just like they got cards and money and gifts and everything from all over, from different countries and stuff, and how he appreciated that. Yeah. But he did say, when they asked him if he was personally being attacked, and he said, not personally, not, directly. So
exactly. And then one of the lawyers jumped in to say that they have a dedicated group constantly reporting and trying to get back at these people. Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was absolutely shocked that a lawyer would say that, because to me, that sounds like some sort of a retaliatory or some sort of a harassment type situation. Right. If they had,
they're still going with this fact too, that lady that was seen going in and out of the house, and triggered the alarm stuff. It was one of the defense attorneys. Now, come on, why would they be going there that time of night, and why would they not have the code? Why would they trigger any alarms or anything? None of that makes sense. But somebody need to get in there and get something, maybe that got left behind, or needed to get rid of something else, or I don't know, drain something.
And they would go in there after dark, like, yeah, sure,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the traveling makeup bag, traveling makeup bag kind of has always stood out, I think, because that isn't how evidence is handled. You don't allow evidence to leave the property to begin with, but if it does leave the property, you don't put it into evidence after it's traveled to North Carolina and back.
Yeah, because it's been tampered with. It's been out of, the police haven't had it in their, kept up. Somebody else had a chance to get to it, right?
Simply based on the question, did you open it? And they were told no, it hadn't been opened.
Right. Do you believe that? Seriously? Honestly? No. I don't believe that for 1 second. Nah.
I would have opened it. I think most people would have opened it, and I think that's likely that it probably was opened at some point.
Well, I
And
still want to know what that bottle of pills is that was in there in the office in that police video that had the name or whatever, and it was turned the opposite way, and it was up there on that bookshelf out of reach. Just didn't make sense. I mean, why would that be sitting there like that? Nah, don't
the
make
other
sense.
day, you said that the next time it wasn't in the.
Yeah, the next time it was gone. Yeah, doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and the thing about the makeup bag is there's something known as chain of custody. When the chain of custody is broken, it's no longer able to be effective as evidence.
Right.
Because they had no way of knowing what was in the bag, what may have been taken out of the bag, what may have been
It's
done.
not like they put police tape on it and sent it there and they took it back to them. The police tape was still sealed on there or anything where it had, it's nothing like that at all. It was released to them. And yeah, you just can't believe, I will never believe that nobody looked in that. Now, that just doesn't make sense. You're not going to look and check something like that out. Yeah.
Exactly. You also don't, here's a comment, you also don't allow people to walk through a potential crime scene. Exactly. And if you're being told by the caller on the taped line, which I don't think that was the first call, but if you're being told by the caller on the taped line that the pregnant woman isn't opening the door, and if you're dispatching the call to say checking on the welfare of a pregnant woman, then you're getting in the door without anybody else there. The law enforcement is getting in the door, and typically too, they're waiting for backup before they do barge through the door. And this is all assuming that if somebody's super worried about their friend or their relative or whatever behind that door, that they haven't already gone through the door themselves,
Right.
instead of waiting for the police. But if they're running in the door expecting, to possibly find a pregnant woman in some sort of dire straits or physical distress or whatever, they're not going to allow a 2-year-old in there. They're not going to allow.
I told you my son said that he's never seen anything. He said, that cop should have never let anybody go in there. He should have asked for a police backup to keep people out of there until he had a chance to go in there and completely search it, because they didn't know at that time. They did not know at that time what they were walking into, right?
Right. And they wouldn't have known for days what they were dealing with, for days. So, someone here mentioned they brought in the dogs but didn't put crime scene tape up. Why didn't they put crime scene tape up? If they have, probable cause to believe that this person is an endangered missing person, right? Why aren't they treating it as a potential crime scene?
And
At
nobody
least,
called out to anybody when they went in either, did they? Not to the
not at
kids,
all.
no. It's like
Yeah.
they knew that she wasn't there.
I think they may have. I think that she may have had a history, and I think they may have already figured that the endangered missing were really Bella and Cece.
I think so too. Yeah.
And even then, and even more importantly then, they should have never allowed any friend in that house, period. They had every, I wouldn't say right at that point because they didn't have a warrant. They couldn't have forced Christopher Watts to let them in. However, once they knew that the person, the cell phone and whatever, yes, they could have, because Christopher Watts gave them permission. They could have taken control of that scene.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. He did give him permission. Yeah.
It may have taken him a few seconds to actually get a warrant, but he gave him permission to go right in. That
But something else that stands out to me is the fact he had to tell NA to go change her daughter's clothes, that she was soaking wet and had changed her diaper.
Did you notice how he seemed to be very tuned into the child who was in some sort of distress, and he's missing his wife and children, and he's noticing that a 2-year-old needs attention.
Right. That tells me a lot right there. A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of shaking my head. I am seriously shaking my head.
Yep.
You guys want to hear it one more time?
Yeah, let's hear it one more time.
Let's hear it one more time. I put it back to normal speed, I think. Let's see here. Here we go. Everyone, take a listen to this.
On the video. And the cop's like, well, we got to do what we got to do. She might have just ran away with us. And my daughter's phone is like a magnet. That phone does not leave her side. I don't care where she is. That phone is with her 24/7. That's her business. She runs the Thrive business.
I'll call you
She
right
never
back.
leaves the house without her phone.
Back.
I told the cops that there's, you can say what you've got to say, but there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's just so much stuff that's been going on afterwards, and like I went on TV and thanked everybody for it because it's, I just can't understand. And for him to do what they say he did to these two little children,
Here it comes.
My daughter did. I don't believe that at all. But
Dang, I talked over it. Okay, hold on a minute. I talked over it accidentally. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Okay. You got to be so. Okay, here we go.
Children are saying my daughter did.
Oh,
I don't believe
I want to go back just a little further. Just a little bit further. It's so finicky. Okay, here we go.
And I mean, there's just so much stuff that's been going on afterwards, and like I went on TV and thanked everybody for it because it's, I just can't understand. And for him to do what they say he did to these two little children, or saying my daughter did, I don't believe that at all. But she would never ever hurt those kids in her life. And they have another baby. It was just, that's her life. She took care of kids all her life.
Took care of kids all her life. Okay.
Yeah, because remember, she was a retired nurse who was a nanny.
She was a nanny, yeah.
Yeah, and she was a stay-at-home mom.
Well, I do think that she had several kids, but I don't think she ever took care of them. I do think she was a mom of several, but I don't think she took care of them. Sorry.
I don't see any evidence at all that she ever took care of any kids. In fact, when she did have the opportunity to take care of her own kids, I thought, right, before I start getting people contacting me with all these weird details, but what did she do? She got on the phone or texting at least, and was complaining about being stuck with the kids. Well,
right.
He was off, scot-free, living the life of a bachelor. Yeah, he was working full-time to support that MLM habit, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe it was moving day.
Right. I'm with you totally, 100%. I mean, there's just no way it could be. And the stuff that's been said, and she wasn't supposed to be there, and different things. It just making more sense to me more by the hour. It just does.
This is incredible. As we go through these videos and these, bits and little pieces of information,
mm-hmm.
with the moving day theory kind of there in the shadows, right? And I don't mean that to mean any of that shadow crap that they're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
With keeping that moving day theory in mind, this stuff fits. This stuff that we're discovering fits.
Well, we didn't even know about. We never even caught any of this stuff till now, and it just makes it. It just makes it go in that direction, even point in that direction even more that it was moving day and she wasn't supposed to be there and all this. It does. Yeah.
It does.
And other people being involved and being there and knowing things. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I compare the two neighbors, one evidently had phone numbers to different people. He's also, I'm not sure when it was. I think it was when he was talking to the police at one point. He's also the same neighbor who at first claimed that he heard Christopher Watts yelling at his wife. And then he went on Dr. Oz later and admitted that he wasn't telling the truth.
Yeah.
He said that he heard them yelling at each other.
Right.
And when he first presented it, it was all about Christopher Watts yelling at his wife. Baloney.
Right.
So why would he have been lying?
Well, there's been there was another family member that went on another one, and was kicked out of there because he wasn't telling the truth and stuff and was causing ruckus in his chat and stuff. I can't think of that guy's name that does that true crime stuff. But Junior went over there and was fussing, and he got thrown out of there because of the stuff he was stirring up. I remember that.
Paul said that the neighbor said that he exaggerated. Well, I'm not sure, if that's the right word that he used when he said that. But if that's what he said, he exaggerated. Even then, why would he have exaggerated?
Yeah.
What was his motive? What was he trying to achieve by making it look like Christopher Watts was yelling at his wife when he wasn't?
Yeah. Well, he sure knew an awful lot about them, didn't he? He sure had a lot of information to put out there. Without even being asked about it. He just was volunteering it right and left, right?
And then he was telling the police that Christopher Watts was acting a lot different. Yeah, he's acting a lot different, right?
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about that one time. I thought, how would he have known how Christopher Watts acted? Christopher Watts was either working or taking care of kids or, running and trying to get the laundry hung up fast enough so it wouldn't get him in trouble if it wasn't drying correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt he was hanging out with his next door neighbor.
Right. And keep in mind, Betty didn't say anything until she was asked by the police. Nate, on the other hand, volunteered the information.
Jumped right in.
To the police.
Jumped right in. Yep.
Yeah, jumped right in with his diabetic. And he was shelling that information right and left. Come on over here. I got a videotape. I got this. He was Johnny on the spot on that, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting then that in the father-in-law's interview with police that he's right away bringing up the neighbor Nate? I wonder, if it were reasonable and plausible and, it's understandable that he would have been talking to the neighbors. I wonder if he ever talked to Betty and found out that there were vehicles there, because I would want to know what vehicles were there. I would want to make damn sure the police were following up on what vehicles were there.
Well, didn't Betty say it was FR that was there, and when she went over and asked about the stuff on the lawn, what to put on her lawn that he had put out on the lawn or something?
And I think that was actually,
they were gone to North Carolina. Remember? Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I think, a few weeks before. And a lot of people are saying now that they do think that those boxes and stuff in the basement were actually prepared for moving.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was there during that 6-week time frame preparing the place for moving.
Right. Well,
maybe really
he flew back. He had been staying with the girls, right? And when they got back from their vacation or that trip or whatever, they flew out later that day. Senior and SW and the girls flew out later, that same day. We don't know what all FR was doing there during that time when he's watching those girls. We don't know how much stuff he is packing and putting up. Come on, we don't know that.
That's true. Yeah, maybe he was actually there in part for that reason.
Right. I mean, that's another reason. He wasn't just there to watch the girls. He was there to start working on things and then again, he says, oh, he didn't know anything was going on. I just have a problem. I have a hard time believing that they didn't know anything was going on, all this innocent stuff.
I think when a young hairstylist and a strange lawyer eating dinner in a restaurant with his wife, I think when both of those people know all about the divorce that's coming, that it would make sense, as close as contact as they had, right? All the daily contact that they had, right. It would make sense that there would have been awareness. I also think that
the house payment stopped in December of 2017, and that $10,000, as far as I know, is still unaccounted for. Nobody knows where that money is. And right, I think even Cindy was asked about that, and she said that they didn't know where it was.
What said is that $10,000 was never accounted for.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is incredible. I just looked at the time. I can't believe it. We only made it through 15 minutes of that video. And we've been talking for 2 hours and 29 minutes.
But we was discussing the video the whole time. No, listening to it, it's been a discussion the whole time about that. So, yeah.
Well, that's how packed that first 15 minutes is.
I'm sure the rest of us can be packed a lot more before we're done.
I know it. I know, but I do think it's smart to break it up because
Right.
that's just amazing to me what we just heard. It's just amazing to me. It just totally screams moving day.
I'm sitting here going, oh boy, this
And
is.
another thing too is that Cindy Watts and Ronnie Watts offered
Mhm.
to go to Colorado from North Carolina when Christopher Watts was returning to Colorado.
Mhm.
They offered to go with him to help with the girls for the transition. So if they knew that it was moving day that next Monday, they
Mhm.
would have offered to be there on moving day to help with the girls.
Right. Amazing how one set of parents knew everything, the other one claimed they didn't know anything, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. But if you were fearful, the way Cindy Watts has told us that she and Ronnie were fearful, and you found out that your son was leaving his wife and you were fearful of his wife, of her behaviors.
Not so sure if they were just fearful of the wife. I have a feeling they may have been fearful of the wife's mother a little bit too, what she's capable of doing. I think she can be very threatening to people. I do.
And it would have made perfect sense then for them to offer to fly out there because they were both still working full time at the time.
Right.
It would have made perfect sense for them to offer to fly out there to help. Their offer was to help with the children, to watch the children while he did his transition, moving to the apartment.
Right.
Well, I don't think he was the one moving that day. I think they were moving her out. And I think pretty much everybody figured that whatever guards were supposed to be in place, whatever precautions were supposed to have been taken, would have been taken,
Right.
including Christopher Watts. I believe it is possible, and I think it's probable, that when he left for work that morning, he had no clue what was about to happen.
Well, I don't think I think this white the looks and the way he reacted and stuff, and I can't wait to get further into more of this, and even the interview that they did, and her putting her hands all over his back and rubbing those things, and him not facing the camera. Those things are just not normal. There's something terribly wrong with a lot of stuff to do with this case. There's
Right?
just things that are just not normal.
Especially if you reverse it and say, what if he was a woman and a male sergeant did that or a male investigator did that?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, that would be. Well, it's back to like we said before, people don't want to think that that he was abused by her, but it's very apparent that he was mentally and even physically abused by her. But it seemed to be overlooked because if it had been her that had been abused by him, well, he would have been in jail. And she never went to jail for putting her hands, pushing him, locking him out, taking his stuff. Come on. It, it shouldn't make any difference if you're, putting your hands on somebody, male or female. You don't have any right to do that. You don't have any right to push somebody out the door and lock them out in the dead of winter either. I mean, no shoes or nothing. Come on.
Well, and to hit him beforehand.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
If we
And
look at that,
I have a feeling she hit a lot of people though. You want to know the truth? Yeah.
I think that if you look at that incident alone, that would explain the trajectory of that relationship and how
Hmm.
especially when we've talked about other pregnancies
Yeah.
and the way Christopher Watts was raised and everything,
Hmm.
I I think that he was basically trapped in his own mind at first by pregnancies.
Right.
And I think that he then was conditioned and lied to believe that he wasn't able to leave when Bella was little.
And has anyone ever thought about when they go back to saying, oh, he was so good to her and stuff that he let her lay there and sleep because of, it's supposed to be quote unquote, because of her lupus and other problems. She finally could go to sleep and she'd had a headache and stuff. And she laid there in his lap sleeping. He sat there and held her in his lap and let her sleep, even though bad. You know what? I don't think it was that at all. I think she was pregnant. I'm just telling
Yep,
you. I'm going to
I
put it
do
out
too.
there.
I do
Yeah,
too.
this makes sense. And he was just, he cared about her, thought he was in love with her and stuff, and he knew about it. And I just think it is what it is. And
I agree with
that makes
you.
more sense. Yeah.
I agree with you, and I think that he was going to play knight in shining armor, or maybe he was totally stupid, and maybe they, did whatever one time, and she said, "Oh, it's yours," even though she was possibly 6 months or more.
I don't think that. I think he was really thought he was in love with her, and I think when she had that meltdown at 32 weeks when she was pregnant with Bella, I think that opened
Bella?
his eyes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a pregnancy before Bella.
Yeah, I'm talking about that, but I don't. I think maybe I don't think that she told him that was his. I think he was. I think he was in love with her, and he knew what was going on, and he was just going to ride that out. But he actually seen the difference in her when at that 32-week mark with Bella. He actually seen what maybe he knew in his mind, but he drew a mental block to. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
Well, and
Yeah,
keep in mind, he was a 25-year-old male when he met her too,
yeah.
and that's not an easy age for a guy to really discern whether or not
And he had
he should.
not dated much at all or anything either. He had never been involved in a lot of relationships or been real out there, running and stuff, apparently like she did, with girlfriends and going to clubs and,
So
doing all that.
if she was 5 years older or 8 years older or whatever, or
A
10
lot more
years older,
experience. Yeah.
then she would have had a whole lot more experience than we even know, right?
Yeah.
That he just had a couple of girlfriends and not a lot of experience.
Yeah. Be real easy for somebody that much older than you to be very controlling and everything too, I think, with somebody younger.
Especially somebody younger who seems kind of naive and trusting
Yes. And
at
he
that.
was. And I
Yeah,
believe he was, yes. Yeah.
I agree. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hear Simon and Garfunkel one more time.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Isn't he great? Or aren't they great? Wait.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, I think I closed it down. Hold
A
on
lot of
here.
years, a lot of years back, though. Wow.
I know. I know it. I don't have that window open. Darn. Um, let's
What do you
see.
like to do? You don't own me. Yeah.
Should we do that one?
Yeah, why not? Since we seem
Let's
to
do
be
that one. That's a
getting
good
on
idea.
so much stuff now. Yeah.
Because I see that one right here. Of course, that one popped right up because
Yeah,
I
of
play.
course.
That's a good idea. Okay, here it is. Here it is. It's an ad for booze or something. Let's see here. For coconut oil or something.
Flavor notes to discover.
No, it's for
Every sip of
booze.
Forward Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to say. Please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. 'Cause you don't own me. Don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down 'cause I've never seen. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you what to do. So just let me be myself. That's all I have to do. I'm young and I love to be young. I'm free and I love to be free. To live my life the way I want. To say and do whatever I please. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. I'm So just let me be myself. That's all I ask of you. I'm young and I love to be young. I'm free and I love.
Isn't this weird what we just landed on? I
Mhm.
mean, really, isn't this just weird?
It is, and that's fine for me. The question you asked me, that's fine.
Is Thursday good for you?
Yeah, it's fine. Oh yeah, I don't have anything going. No, not at all.
That'd be great then, because then we'll pick up right. We'll like real. I'm tongue twisting here.
I'm still in shock here. I'm just sitting here.
I
My
know.
mind's going 100 miles an hour. I'm just going every place. Yeah.
I know. I was just gonna say we'll go ahead and replay that spot and just kind of maybe catch up on how the news has hit us because it's like I'm I'm just shaking my head on that one, and I'm still
Mhm.
also shaking my head on the she came home, checked her phone. We talked about that quite a bit in the past, right? When we landed on that one,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and that one still has me going. Wait a minute here. He very clearly stated she came home. You know.
Right. Hmm.
So yeah, I think we'll probably spend maybe the first 15 minutes or half an hour, whatever, just recovering from the last 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
I don't
gosh.
know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight after all this. I'm going to be, my mind's just going to be going and round and round and round and round. How did you miss this? Oh, you didn't. How could you listen to that? You didn't pick that up. Now you're picking this up. What's wrong with
Well,
you? You
isn't
know? Yeah.
that's a really interesting point because I think if we hadn't been getting attacked for the last 3.5 years, we wouldn't have
Mhm.
missed it,
Right. Well, that's
or we'd
true
have been a lot
because
faster.
our minds have been, maybe that was intentional to keep us from going there and even looking in that direction because they knew, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I do like this way of steering right back on the path of just true crime and to hell with everything else
Yeah.
because I do think that is part of all the attacks against us is that we're supposed to get like like distracted, right? It's all about the chaos and confusion baloney, right? So
Exactly.
if we can just put the blinders on and stick to true crime case discussions,
Mhm.
I think it's actually gonna be kind of so much more interesting than it already has been
Right.
because we're just gonna refuse to get involved or to engage or to even acknowledge all the crap.
Right.
And that way we can use our energy to actually put our skills to
Go in this
work.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Mhm. I'm with you on that because I mean, if 15 minutes worth of stuff in 2.5 hours, and we learned all this, incredible. I mean, just
it is.
so what else have
It,
we missed? You know? Yeah.
right. Well, I think we'll be finding it soon because let's just go ahead and figure this is a good format, I think, at this point to just
Mhm.
kind of start right back at the beginning and say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Wait a
Right.
minute, that doesn't make sense. And I think it's fair for us to expect this to make sense. I don't think we're being catty. I don't think we're being nosy or whatever names they want to say, because there
Mhm.
are two little girls who were murdered. They
Mhm.
deserve it. Bella and Cece Watts deserve for us to take a very close look at the details of this case and to question everything.
Exactly. That's the most important thing is those two little girls and why they were murdered and why they should be here living a happy, normal life. They should. And they're not. They were cheated out of that because of all this. Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
And the whole idea that we're supposed to just not notice all the medical abuse or we're just supposed to not notice all the inconsistencies with all the financial baloney or that
Right.
we're supposed to not notice that the stay-at-home mom was staying home alone all week long.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, come on, right? We do notice it because it just isn't right. It isn't right that she so publicly put all of those, that both kids are sick again, fundraisers for pillows, allergic to things that she was feeding them, it
Yeah.
just isn't right that all of that was made so public. And evidently nobody had the guts to make damn sure those kids were safe.
Right. Yeah. That's what I don't understand. I mean, they may have all had to walk on eggshells, but why didn't anybody, when they get together, none of them wanted to speak up and do anything? And that just, I'm kind of just flabbergasted that they didn't. I mean, I don't know. It's mind boggling why nobody did anything, didn't speak up.
I
I mean, if
think
she's
that
going to lose it anyway, who cares? I mean, she was a loose cannon anyway, so one way or the other, you know.
I
Maybe
think
those little girls would be here, I think, if somebody intervened a long time ago. They would be here.
I think that people need to care less about somebody's ridiculous temper. You know, get her the help she needed if her temper's that out of control.
Right.
And care more about the fact that those children deserve to be safe. So let's go ahead and have the motto of this live chat be break those eggs.
Yeah, I'll break those eggs. That's a good one. Yeah.
We'll go ahead and say good night now. Thank you so much for hopping right
All
up
right.
here.
Well, thank you for having me. And good night, Bobs. And I'll see you Thursday and have a good next couple of days, everybody. And like MM said, be safe and know your love, you know, because you are here and you're safe here. And I'll see
Exactly.
everybody. And I'll see everybody Thursday. Bye bye,
Exactly.
guys.
Good night, everyone.